Just have a seat, huh?
Ah, Mr. Russell, this is your complaint, sir. You met the defendant, and shortly after you met her, according to you, you found out that you were going to be incarcerated for a period of time. How long?
6 months, Your Honor.
And was that violation of probation? What was it for?
That was for a DUI.
Clearly not your first.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you and the defendant made up the following agreement. While you were incarcerated, the defendant was going to clean up your house where you had lived with your son. I assume this is the son.
Yes, Your Honor.
Because the house is probably not fit for human beings with two men living there and not taking care of it. I assume that you knew that, and you told her that if she cleaned up the house and made it ready for renting, that when you got out of prison, you would move in with her and rent the house so that you would have some additional income. So far, correct?
Correct, Your Honor.
The son was living in your house.
Yes.
The defendant and her daughter came to live in your house, and she did what she agreed to do, which was put your house in condition to be rented. Tell me what you did to get the house ready.
Your Honor, you're absolutely right. This house was a complete disaster. I had to have everything done to it. I had to have carpet cleaning. I had to have a maid come in and help clean the walls, the bathrooms. I had to have it painted.
How much of the house was painted?
The living rooms and the boys' bedroom.
Who paid for that?
The kitchen. I did.
Who paid for the renting of the dumpster and all that other stuff?
I have all the receipts right here.
Okay. And that has nothing to do with your labor?
Nothing to do with my labor.
Then you started to have problems with Mr. Russell's son. What kind of problems did you have?
He was doing very bad in school. He was getting D's and F's. Ditching.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
Stealing things, stealing cell phones, stealing money.
From whom?
People at the school, I guess. I assume his friends.
Jan down. Okay, so he was having some trouble. All right, so this is what happened, Mr. Russell. The defendant said, I can't deal with this. And he went to live with whom?
My grandparents.
You told Ms. Haig that this wasn't going to work out, that because she couldn't live with your son, you couldn't live with her, and that she would have to move back to her house, and you weren't going to rent your house because you were going to have to move back into your house with your son when you got out of jail. So far correct?
Somewhat correct, yes, Your Honor.
And Ms. Haig left, and it is your claim that she wrote out 2 checks from your checkbook without your permission.
Correct.
And you want that?
Yes, Your Honor.
Defendant says, whatever checks I wrote out with your permission. I used them to cover certain expenses that I had. So let us assume, Mr. Russell, that Ms. Haig has bills in order to put your house in order. Did you compensate her for that?
Yes, Your Honor, somewhat.
How?
I did.
Not somewhat. Did you
yes.
give her $3,000?
Not the whole $3,000, but close to it before I went in.
How much?
I gave her approximately $2,000 cash, bought her a new garage door, which she needed, and a trailer hitch of hers to be installed in my truck to haul her trailer to my house, which she said she would leave into my truck if I paid that money, which she decided not to do.
So what you're telling me is, forgetting all the other fluff, you gave her $2,000 in cash?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did he give you $2,000 in cash?
Approximately $2,000, I'd say.
Okay. Tell me how much she wrote out of your checking account with the
She wrote 2 checks for $5,450. There was 2 checks, one for $4,800 and one for $650.
Did you give her permission to write out either one of those checks?
No, I did not. I asked her to mail me a blank check, and I would fill it out and give it back to her, which I've got proof.
For what?
For approximately $600, $700. We can call it even and depart on good terms.
Mr. Russell, you're making a few things up as we go along, sir. The way you said that to me, just for her efforts. What efforts are you talking about?
Her hauling stuff to the dump. She claimed cleaning the house, painting it.
Well, she was. That's a big job, sir. How long did that take her to do?
I'm not really sure. She had one of my friends helping her do it at no cost. Well,
that's good. How long did it take you to put the house in order?
Over 2 months.
Was she there 2 months?
I don't believe she was living at my house because I was calling her when I was in jail at her house, and she was answering. So she was living at her house, but going to my house to do work.
Okay. So that would be the $650.
Approximately, yes. I was going to write her a check for it, but she decided to do it herself.
Okay. Now, you wrote one check for $4,800. What's that for?
The $4,800 he asked me to write because he was trying to get out of jail in a half time, and he wanted to say he had hardship. He needed to get out and support us, and he wasn't allowed to have any money in his bank. So I sent him a blank check, and the jail would not allow him to have it, and he told me to cash it and get the money out of his bank.
So then what did you do with it?
I kept $2,800 and I put $2,000 in his
What did you do
safe.
with the $2,800?
Paid my bills.
Oh, well, then you owe him that. You can't have it both ways. Do you understand? If he gave you $2,000 in cash and you took $2,800 to satisfy those bills, you can't have it twice. You following me?
Yes.
Good. Did she give you any money?
No, Your Honor, she didn't give me anything back.
Where did you put the money?
In his safe, inside his trailer. And I took his trailer, all his stuff back over to his house, and I gave the keys to his parents.
Your Honor, it's a little firebox with a broken lock. Doesn't even work.
It's not
a
little.
safe. It's very small, 1 foot by 1 foot, and there was nothing in it but my birth certificate, my son's birth certificate. The trailer wasn't broken into. It was all locked up. She didn't put anything back.
Right. I believe that. I believe she didn't put anything back. You want to know why she didn't put anything back? She didn't put anything back because she was very angry with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I understand that she was angry, but she can't steal your money.
Also,
I didn't steal his money.
Yes,
Your
you
Honor.
did.
No.
Also, in cleaning
Sure
up
you
my
did.
house, she threw away many things which she didn't have permission to throw away.
Well, that's your problem. You should have been more specific. You should have put red dots on everything that you wanted to keep. You told her to clean up your mess, and she cleaned up your mess.
The whole
Shouldn't
house
such
should have
a
been
mess.
thrown in the dump.
But you can't steal his money if you're
I didn't
angry.
steal his money, Your Honor.
Yes,
I
you
put it
should.
in there.
I don't believe
If
you.
anybody stole it, it's his
I don't
son.
believe you. I don't believe that somebody that after spending 2 months cleaning up somebody else's, painting and cleaning and getting people over there and going to the dumpster and making 10 trips to the dumpster, and all of a sudden he says to you, sorry, babe, when I come out, it's over. And you say, all right, sweetheart, I'm going to take this money. I'm going to cash this check. I'm going to leave it all for you. Just take what I think is mine. You took what you thought you were entitled to. You can't do that. Things didn't work out. They didn't work out.
Friend Patty Haig stole his personal belongings and money while he was in jail. Patty claims everything she took was with Brian's permission.
Now, are you keeping the place neat?
Yes, Your Honor. I'm attempting to as best I can with 2 men there.
What does that mean? Are you suggesting to me that men are innately slobs?
I don't know if all are, but we are.
Why? You don't look like a slob, Mr. Russell. Look how nicely you're dressed. Got a nice shirt. You got a nice tie. Your son's well dressed. He's got a nice clean shirt on. His hair is cut. As far as I can see, he doesn't have any piercings or anything else that I'm looking at, right?
I would consider my house very clean. If you walked in, you'd say it was probably so-so.
After I got done with it.
Yeah, well, didn't work out. Listen, there are women who spend 25 years cleaning up after a man and they end up with nothing. It only took you 2 months to clean up after your man to end up with nothing. Do you understand?
Yes.
You got to give him back his money. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,800. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think he's a little bit upset about his son not being there and us not being back together.
His grades were bad, but he actually improved them. He got 2 A's and 2 C's his last report card.
He doesn't clean up after himself. All I asked him to do was pick up after himself.
I was kind of dirty, but I was probably doing 300% better than I usually do.
Next time when I meet someone and I do fall in love, be careful. Don't leave all your possessions and everything in their control. Be a little more careful.
The defendant is your daughter.
Yes.
She's 32 years old, and she's one of how many children?
8.
How many of the 8 children still live at home?
4.
How old are they?
18, 16, 13, and 10.
Are you a working lady?
Yes, I am.
What kind of work do you do?
I'm a nurse.
Your complaint alleges that your daughter moved back home because she was having some financial problems. And she moved back home with her daughter, who was how old?
15.
It's your claim that that did not work out
No.
very well, and that your daughter had you falsely arrested for assault. In addition, while you were in jail on her assault complaint, which was ultimately dismissed due to her non-appearance, she stole some property from your home.
Yes.
You want to be compensated for the false arrest as well as for the property that you claim she took from the house. Your daughter says she did not take any property from your house, that you did in fact assault her, that property was taken from her, and she's counterclaiming. Now, when did your daughter move back home?
Sometime in November.
Do you remember?
Sometime in November, towards the end of November.
Why did you move back home, Ms. Vaughn?
I was in a car accident and I injured my back.
When were you in a car accident?
August of 2006.
And?
November of 2006 is when I moved in with her.
How long did you stay?
Until September of 2007.
Yes.
She stayed until October 6th, 2007.
So you were there for almost a year,
Correct.
not working.
Correct.
Is there anything that prevented you from working
Yes.
during that year? What?
The pain in my back.
Okay, so now tell me what happened.
Well, it started with a phone call while I'm at work. She had her brother and sister arrested, said that they assaulted her.
You called the police?
Yes, I did.
When was that?
September 20th of 07.
Tell me what happened in September.
Andre and Aunt Toria were in the living room. acting up, wrestling, I guess. They broke the glass out of the entertainment center. I walked in, tried to ask them what was going on. They were still acting silly, so I told them, go upstairs. You know, I'm calling Mom to let her know what's going on. They started getting belligerent. They refused to go upstairs. My sister tried to leave out the front door. She said that she didn't have to listen to me. She's not going to do nothing I say. She was going to leave.
You mean this sister?
Correct.
Go ahead.
I proceeded to close the door, and I locked it, and I was standing in her way. She then smacked me in my face, and she pulled my hair. And once I got her hands off of my hair, she went to take off through the living room towards the back door. So I went to walk after her to try and stop her.
Why?
She didn't have permission. It was in the evening time. She didn't need to be outside.
Just a second. Were you left in charge of them?
Always. When my mother would go to work, I was in charge.
Is that right?
Well, I never actually said it, but she was the oldest one there.
Okay. So you told her not to leave and you locked the door?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
As I proceeded to walk after her, my brother then grabbed me up around my neck and pulled me down to the ground. When I got him off of me is when I got up and I got my cell phone and I went outside to the side of the house and I called the cops.
Doesn't sound like a very good supervisor to me.
Because the kids don't know how to act?
No, I don't understand why a 32-year-old sister in those circumstances would call the police to have her younger siblings arrested and carted off to jail, as opposed to saying, oh, listen, I'm going to take a breather, I'm going upstairs, I'm going to go in my room, wait until my mother comes home from work, and it's my mother's problem, not mine. But I don't see. Just a second, has your mother ever called the police on your siblings?
No.
Right, because that's not what you do.
Right, because if she puts her hands on them, it's not assault. I'm not going to put myself in that situation.
What do you mean if she puts her hands on them, it's not assault? Why would
To
you put your hands
discipline
on
them.
them?
To discipline them.
Ms. Vaughn, that's not your job.
Exactly, so I didn't put my hands on them.
It's not your job to discipline them, and it certainly is ridiculous for you to call the police. What?
The police officers took pictures. There was no red marks on her.
I don't know what happened. I'm just telling you, whatever happened there, if they were fooling around, they weren't fighting with each other. They were messing around, being big, stupid children, and broke something. What did you break?
I didn't break anything.
What did you break?
I didn't break anything.
Well, there was glass broken, I understand.
They knew nothing about the glass.
When you came home from work, was that glass broken?
Yes, it was.
Well, the glass didn't break by itself. Anyway, sister had no reason, in my view, good reason, to call the police and have you arrested. Number one. That's what you did. So what did you do? Well, you came home, you were furious with her, and you told her she had to leave.
Yes, of course, and she wouldn't.
What did you say to her?
I was more concerned with the children and finding a placement for them so they wouldn't have to go to Columbia and spend God knows how long in a detention center. And once I found a safe placement...
Where did you find a placement?
In the neighborhood with neighbors.
Just a second. So what you're telling me is your 32-year-old daughter wouldn't leave, and you couldn't have the kids back in the house while she was there.
Right.
Why wouldn't you leave?
That's not true. That was my place of residence, and the officer
Just a second.
pressed the
It was
charges.
your place of residence because you were living there, because your mother allowed you to move back because you were not feeling well. But that's not your place of residence. That's her place of residence, and that's her minor children's place
Where
of
I was
residence.
residing.
But once she tells you to leave, you got to go. How much rent did you pay her each month that you were there? Is not an answer.
I was currently working for about 2 months after my accident when I moved in with her,
I'm
and I
not
paid
talking
her
2 months.
$400.
Okay.
After
The last
that,
9 months you were living there, how much rent did you pay her?
$100 a month.
That's ridiculous.
Well,
that's not
what I
rent.
could afford.
That's not rent. That covered your food. That covered your
No,
lights.
I bought food.
That
for the
covered your
house.
lights, your electricity for you and your daughter. Ridiculous. So you were not a rent-paying person there. So you were living there at your mother's will. You're not a tenant. She told you to leave. You should have left.
Radcliffe says her daughter, Tamara Vaughn, had her falsely arrested for assault and stole property from her home. Tamara is countersuing for the assault in question.
Continue.
Well, Friday morning they had a court date, and the judge also asked me how old she was and why wasn't she out of my home, and she won't leave my home. So I had to do an eviction. And I have papers to show that I went down and did the eviction. And I come home, I don't talk to her. My daughter witnessed her tearing something up. We had to call the police.
What date?
On the 21st. So they couldn't do anything because she was in a lawsuit with them by having them arrested. So nothing was done because she was allowed to tear things up and nobody could stop her.
That's not true.
Well, I go to work Friday night. I come home. I'm a night nurse. I get home at 6:30.
In the morning?
Yes, ma'am. Saturday morning, I walk in my home. My living room looked clean, which is very odd. The kitchen was a total disaster, so I started cleaning up my kitchen. I read my newspaper and went to bed. I looked at my watch. It was 7:15 when I laid down. I do not know what time it was when someone banged on my door and woke me up. I mean, banged hard. So my children aren't in the house, so the only person in my mind who could do this...
Where are your other two children?
Geraldo, the 18-year-old, was there asleep, but the baby, I removed him also because I didn't want her doing anything against him.
Where did you send the baby?
He went to a neighbor's. So I have 3 children split 3 different ways because of her.
Are there all the children home now?
All of my babies are home now.
Go ahead.
So I woke up with this banging, and I get up and I sling open my bedroom door, and nobody's there. All the doors are standing open. So I look in my bathroom, no one's there, I close it. Garage door's open, I look, no one's there, I close it. I go out the back door, no one's there, I close it. Go through the front, no one's there. Where is her and my granddaughter? I did not know where they're at. So I'm yelling for them, and I'm walking down my porch, looking inside of the house. I said, I don't know what their games they're playing, but I need to get some sleep. So I was going to go back in, but then I see spots of blood on the sidewalk at the end of my steps come down the porch. So now my heart is beating. Maybe they needed my help. So I'm looking, I'm following the blood, and I see her stooping down on a cell phone with her arm down, letting the blood flow all over the ground. So I'm yelling to her, get your arm up. What happened? Where's Sherelle? And she's acting like she's afraid of me, and she's running. So I turn around, I run back in the house, want to see where Sherelle is. I go to Geraldo's room, and I'm banging on his door. He's waking up, he's asleep. I said, well, is Sherelle in there? He said, no. I said, come on. I said, Tamara's bleeding. I said, can't find Sherelle. So I run back downstairs, I call 911. Then I run back outside because I'm going to have to stop the flow of blood somehow.
You called 911?
I called 911 to say I don't know where my granddaughter is, and I was trying to tell them real fast what happened. She's bleeding, I need to go stop the blood. So I'm back outside, and there stands my granddaughter with her. And I'm like, Sherelle, what did you do? What's going on? And she said, oh, Grandma, you know what happened. You did this. Click, after what she done to these children, I turn around and call my son. I said, Tamara is setting me up. Y'all need to get here. I'm fixing to be arrested.
Okay. What happened to the case?
It was dismissed because she didn't show up in court.
How long were you in jail?
12 hours.
How many days did the children, all 3 children, spend at neighbors' homes?
2 weeks we were out of our home.
On what date did your daughter finally move out of your house?
She was ordered out on October the 6th at 4 o'clock, and I was ordered back into my home at 5 o'clock.
Okay, Ms. Vaughn, let me hear you.
The 21st is when she did call the cops to try and make a false police report, because after having to deal with my brother and sister the night before, my back was hurting even more. So all day long, I still had my pajamas on, my robe, my house shoes. I laid up in the recliner on my medicine all day.
What kind of medication were you taking?
Baclofen, Lyrica, and hydrocodone.
How long had you been on this cocktail?
Earlier in the year. I'm not sure exactly when.
After you moved out of your mother's house on October 6th, where did you go?
To a friend's house.
Where do you live now?
With my boyfriend.
Is this a boyfriend you had while you were living with your mother?
No.
So you found a boyfriend after you moved out?
Yes.
How long have you been living with the boyfriend?
Several months.
Where are you working?
Nowhere.
Why not?
My back is still injured.
Well, let me ask you this about your boyfriend. Do you have intimate relations with the boyfriend?
Obviously.
Back doesn't bother you?
Yes.
But you do it anyway. Is that right?
That's correct.
It's the same way you work. If your back bothers you a little bit, you
Sex
get a job.
doesn't last 8 hours.
That's not... Now, listen to me. You're 32 years old. She has 3 minor children. If somebody has to leave the house, it has to be you. Whether it's your fault, whether it's the children's fault, doesn't make any difference. You're the intruder.
No.
You are not paying rent, you're not paying a mortgage, you're not paying gas, you're not paying electric, you're not paying for the maintenance on the house. And you have, I'm speaking, and you have 3 siblings who are not home, who are minors because you're there, and they are precluded from coming into the house because you're there, so you have to move. And you chose not to do that. So now give me what happened when your mother came home in the morning that caused you to be assaulted.
She was still cussing and fussing, threatening.
Well, no, first of all, she was working.
When she came home in the morning.
She came home in the morning from working. I know that that's hard.
I'm
working.
sure.
And what did she say when she came home from work?
Calling me all kind of and telling me that she's going to get me out sooner than what I can get out.
Sounds perfectly right to me. Next. So? And what did you say to her?
Nothing. I was ignoring her at first.
Well, at first. What about, let's go to at second. What did you say to her at second? At first you were ignoring.
When we were in the kitchen and she was still fussing and cussing, she had her back towards me. I was in there. I started making the coffee. I said, I don't want to hear this mess this morning. And that's when she turned around and she hit me in the head with a metal pan.
And?
My eyes went black, and I leaned back up against the refrigerator, and the next thing that I know, my arm is cut, and it's bleeding. I didn't see what she cut me with, but that's when I started screaming to wake my daughter up and to get the phone so we could call the cops.
You have the police report?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to see it, please. You have your police report?
No, I couldn't get one.
This is the one where I was arrested. Okay.
Ah, Miss Radcliffe, the police report indicates in sum and substance that a lot of things that you told the police officer didn't quite make sense. It did, however, say that when your daughter was in the kitchen, what she said to you was not some, just leave me alone. According to your daughter, she used some vulgarity to you and said, according to you, leave me the blank alone, is what you told the police you said to your mother. Is that right?
That's correct.
And then that's the last thing she says. She remembers that she got hit over the head with something, maybe a frying pan. While I certainly don't condone anybody using an instrumentality that was capable of causing injury to another human being, I can certainly understand the frustration of the mother of 8 children, 4 of whom are minors and who live at home, who was put in the position of having to take her minor children and pawn them off to neighbors because her 32-year-old daughter, who was probably perfectly capable of some sort of employment, has been mooching off of her for a year with her 15-year-old child on a cocktail of drugs, which is keeping her in a semi-stupor for most of the day. She was forced to move out. She moved in with a friend, and then instead of putting her life together and trying to do what was necessary to make a home for her daughter, she found some guy to support her for a while.
My life is together.
Yeah, your life's not together. If you're 32 years old and you're not employed and you don't have a career or some independent way of earning a living.
Due to a back injury.
Madam, if you can enjoy the bedroom with a new boyfriend, you can get a job. So, I don't believe that you have established to my satisfaction that your daughter had you falsely. A real probability, I think, that you did, in fact, clobber her. And I'm not satisfied that the arrest was false. And there were a lot of other people in the house, so I don't think you're going to be able to establish to my satisfaction that she took property from the house when she left. Now, Ms. Vaughn, on the other hand, is counterclaiming for the assault. And I believe that your mother did, in fact, hit you over the head. I believe
And
that.
Also cut my arm.
I don't know about that. You may have cut your arm when you fell.
Oh, I didn't hit
Who
her
knows?
either.
I didn't fall.
I have no idea how that happened, neither do you.
It's
And
not
neither-
in the police report.
Listen to me. I don't know how you got cut, Ms. Vaughn. In any event.
I know how I got cut because she cut me.
Well, good. Okay, fine. In any event, I also don't think that you can establish to my satisfaction that she took any of your property while she was in jail by having these 2 children act on her behalf and take property out of the house.
It wasn't those 2 children. It was all 4 children plus
Who knows?
the other
Who
grown
knows?
child.
Who knows? You don't know that for a fact. You are
I do know that
speculating.
for a fact because I was standing right there watching them half the time take the stuff out the house.
Oh, good. So tell me what you saw children take out of the house.
A lot of the stuff that she's claiming that I took out.
Just a second. Tell me what...
My property
Tell
came
me-
up
tell
missing
me.
when I was gone out of the house.
Okay. Ms. Vaughn, I think you are absolutely entitled to being compensated by your mother for all the aggravation she caused you by you living in the house without her permission, forcing her to take her children and put them elsewhere.
Without
and
permission
I'm
of
speaking.
What? Without permission
I'm
of what?
speaking. I think, without living there without permission. You did not have her permission when she told you to move. And I believe she assaulted you. And I believe that you have to be compensated for that, for exactly what it's worth, for all the aggravation that your mother caused you. So I'm awarding you on your counterclaim the sum of $1. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think that it's bull crap.
I didn't hit my daughter. She made it all up.
Because she only awarded me $1.
She was trying to control my home so she could steal, which exactly she did steal from my home.
That's incorrect. I had to take care of everything in the house because she went to work all night and I was home. She slept all day and I was there.
You love your children no matter what. All you can do is just pray that they get the help that they need.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Williams versus Bell, step forward.
21-year-old Michelle Williams is suing her ex-boyfriend, Howard Bell, for a series of loans. Michelle says instead of repaying the money, Howard went back to his previous girlfriend.
Miss Williams, this gentleman used to be your boyfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
And unfortunately for you, you gave him a whole bunch of money. You say that you made loans to him for that money. Mr. Bell says, while he acknowledges that you gave him money, he says it's just that. You gave him money, it was a gift, there was never any agreement that he would pay you back, right?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money did you give her, Mr. Bells?
Before I left to go to Michigan, before she gave me any money, I gave her like $125.
What'd you give her that money for, sir?
Because she gave me cigarettes and stuff while I wasn't working.
So she supported you when you weren't working?
Yes, ma'am.
Fed you?
No. My aunt fed me.
Your aunt fed you. She just bought you cigarettes?
Yes, ma'am.
Shouldn't smoke, sir. It's not good for you. So you gave her $120 to pay her back?
Yes, ma'am.
For money that she spent on you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. But you didn't give her any money just for nothing?
No, ma'am.
But she gave you money just for nothing?
Yes, ma'am.
Why do you think she did that?
She didn't give it to me for no reason.
Well, what was the reason?
To get my car out of impound so I could be with her.
What else did she give you money for?
She would call me like 3 times a day and ask me how much money I needed, if I needed more money or whatever. And I'd be like, just whatever you want to do. And she kept sending it.
So how much money did you give him in total, Miss Williams?
I think the exact amount was $1,892.
But who's counting, right? And you just kept giving him the money.
It started out as he just wanted enough to get his car to impound. And he'd call me the next day and say that it wasn't enough, he needed a little bit more, and that went on for about 3 days. Finally, when he did get the car out of impound, wrecking it.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
At least he's polite. Go ahead.
And he called me and said that he was going to try and find another car, but he'd need to borrow the money to get it. And when he did get it, he would put it in my name when he got back up here. So he called me and tells me he found a car for $600, and he'd like me to send him that money plus another $50 for gas so he can get it up here. And he was going to have to put it in his name till he got here, and then he would put it in my name.
So you sent him more money?
Yes.
And then he wrecked that car?
Yes, ma'am.
You're just like an accident looking to happen.
Yes, ma'am.
Like a big goofball. He couldn't put the car in your name because he wrecked it.
Yeah. Well, he didn't want to tell me that he wrecked the car, so he didn't call me, didn't answer anything. And he finally shows up a week later and tells me he bought a car with his money, and he was going to put that in my name when he got up here after he fixed it.
And what happened with that car?
I wrecked it.
Miss Williams, you sent him a whole lot of money, and it's money down sewer. But I don't believe that there were loans. I believe you just took off, and then you said, I gave him all this money because I thought he was going to come here and move in with me. We were going to be a family. That was the intention.
Yes, ma'am. I have text messages on my phone where she said that she would drop the case if I would just come back and be with her. And
those were not sent from me.
I've got text messages from her phone where she threatened to kill herself, told me that she was in the hospital for overdosing on Xanaxes and all types of other stuff.
Listen, did you take advantage of somebody who you shouldn't have?
Nope.
Yes, you did. You took advantage of them. That doesn't make it a loan. You took advantage of them. You're not supposed to do that, sir. If you take advantage of somebody who is needy and maybe not stable, that makes you not a nice person. Even if you say ma'am 40 times. Miss Williams, well, I'm sympathetic with your plight. I am unsympathetic with the fact that you created a contract with Mr. Bells, because I don't think that you created a contract that is legally enforceable anywhere, and you know it. So your case is dismissed. Now, we're going to take care of Mr. Bells' other case. Now Mr. Bells is going to move over to the plaintiff's chair because he has a case against your sister. Oh, and this I'm really anxious to hear. Now, Mr. Bells, You finally got another car.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of car did you get?
I've had 17 since November.
Well, what kind of car is that we're talking about in this case, sir?
A 97 Pontiac Sunfire.
And it is your claim that the defendant, who is the sister of the former plaintiff, took a baseball bat to your car.
Yes, ma'am.
After you ditched her sister.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm all broken up about that, Mr. Bell. Can you tell? I'm going to allow you to tell me what happened, sir.
Michelle sent me a text message to tell me to come and talk to her.
Who's Michelle?
The defendant's sister. So I came up to her job to talk to her about what was going on and everything, and as soon as we pulled in the parking lot...
Who's we?
Me and Annette.
Who's Annette?
My girlfriend.
That's your current girlfriend?
She's always been my girlfriend.
Does she give you money, too?
No, ma'am.
You give her money?
Yes, ma'am.
So you had current girlfriend when you were taking money from Miss Williams. Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, that's really nasty, Mr. Bell. Does your mother like him?
No.
You know why? I just knew that. 10 years from now, you won't like him either. You have children with him?
No.
Don't make any.
I can't have children anyway.
That's what they all say. So you pulled into the parking lot with your girlfriend.
Yes, ma'am.
Because Michelle wanted to speak to you, so you thought it would be nice to bring your girlfriend along.
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead.
What happened was I came to Illinois that week. I had court on April 23rd, so I was coming to my court date. And when Michelle told me to come up there, me and Annette, we came up there to talk to her. And she said that she only wanted to talk to me, not Annette. So I was in where she worked at. So as soon as I pulled in the parking lot...
That's understandable, Mr. Bell.
Yes, ma'am. And as soon as I pulled in the parking lot, Beth and some other girl, I don't know who the other girl was, were all standing in the parking lot, and Beth threw a baseball bat at my car.
Ah! I am absolutely despondent. Did you do that, Beth?
No, ma'am.
No, she didn't?
I had their place.
Why would she do that? Why would she throw a baseball bat at this 1997 Pontiac? Do you still have it?
Yes, ma'am.
The Pontiac?
Yes, ma'am.
With the dent in it?
Yes, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
You haven't wrecked it yet?
No, ma'am.
You will. And then you will hardly even remember this dent that she says she didn't put in your car.
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Goodbye, sir. Have a happy life. Your case is dismissed. It's over. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, I didn't even throw the baseball bat.
Silver and black aluminum one.
And in fact, the bat was not aluminum. It was a wooden bat.
The windows were up and she was just screaming all kinds of stuff.
I ran up to his car and swung at his car and kicked his tire.
I just seen the piece of metal. I just seen the piece of metal flying, so I took off.
He really lied about everything.
It's all good.
Don't.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Stang versus Dejana. Step forward, please.
Bonnie Stang is suing her ex-boyfriend, Thomas Dejana, for credit card charges in excess of $11,000.
Ms. Stang, it is your claim that Mr. Dejana owes you some money.
Yes.
Owes you some money because he used your credit card.
Yes.
You were given him permission to use your credit card with the understanding that he was going to take care of the bills from the credit card and use it only for emergencies. Mr. Dejana racked up thousands of dollars of expenses on the credit card, and you want that money back.
Yes, Your Honor.
In addition, claim he owes you some money for rent because he rented a condo of yours. All of that is well in excess of this court's limit of $5,000. So we'll get into the rent only if we have to. Let's deal with the credit card. Okay? Mr. Dejana, I want you to pay careful attention, sir, because it's my understanding that it is your claim that you were told that this was a credit card for your use because you are a disabled person. She cared for you, and she was just being a nice person. There was never any expectation that you were going to pay this credit card back yourself.
That's my attestation, yes, ma'am.
Mr. Dejana, perhaps I can start with you, sir, if you don't mind. Where and when did you meet Miss Stang?
I met Miss Stang on an internet dating site.
So you were looking for a date?
I was looking for some companionship, yes, ma'am.
How old are you?
38.
Ever been married?
Yes, I have.
How many times?
Once.
Do you have children?
Yes, I do, Your Honor.
How many?
One.
How old?
She's a 9-year-old daughter.
And in what state? And where do you live?
On San Diego.
You live very far away from your child.
Yes, I do.
How come?
During...
is not an answer.
Excuse me?
Is not an answer.
My Apologies, Your Honor.
Go ahead.
I moved to San Diego because of the divorce situation. Was a little bit too much for me to deal with, being so close to the situation. We were having some custody issues and things of that nature, so I thought that I would move to San Diego for a little while to give myself some room. I ended up loving it and staying.
How often do you see your daughter?
3 or 4 times a year.
Does she come to you or do you go to her?
She's still a bit young for that travel, so I go to New York.
When was the last time you were there?
Christmas.
You pay child support, Mr. Tchana?
Yes, I do.
How much?
$500 a month.
Are you in arrears of your child support order, and in what jurisdiction is your action pending?
It is in Nassau County, and those arrears, there's a petition for dissolution of the arrears going before the court.
So the answer is that you are in arrears?
Yes, I am.
How much in arrears are you, sir?
Not exactly sure, ma'am. Due to the fact that I have been paying cash to my ex-wife at times, the court settlement numbers were different than
Can I
what we
please
agreed
have
on.
what amount they are alleging you are in arrears?
I do
Just a
not
second.
know.
You tell me that you petitioned the court to have the arrears vacated.
That will be happening this summer.
Well, how much did you ask them to dissolve?
Your Honor, I have no idea because I have not spoken with an attorney about this yet. I plan on being back in New York this summer and taking care of these issues.
So you haven't started anything?
No.
He's cute. You know. Now, Mr. Giuliano, when did Miss Stang give you a credit card?
Just before I went to New York for Christmas.
And what did you tell her when she gave you the credit card?
I told her thank you very much for helping me out in this time of my need.
Why were you in need, sir?
I went on disability October 26th, and the California Disability
October
Insurance...
26th of 2006, you went on disability.
Yes, Your Honor.
What is the nature of your disability?
I had a torn-up shoulder.
From what?
Playing baseball.
What kind of work were you doing?
I'm an industrial electrician.
Okay. So you went on disability.
Yes, October 26th, my doctor signed a disability note, and by the time I was leaving...
Were you playing baseball for your company?
No, I was not playing baseball for my company. I was playing baseball for my own recreation.
Now, I want you to tell me, Mr. Giuliano, because something was very interesting to me. You couldn't work because of a torn shoulder?
I have no mobility above 180 degrees at that time.
Really?
Anything below here is just fine. I could lift things, I could do just about anything, as long as I didn't go above 180 degrees.
Aren't there other jobs that you could find, sir, that would permit you to work and not lift your arms up all the way up here?
I'm an industrial electrician, and that entails a lot of heavy lifting above my head, screwing in pipes,
No.
wires.
Listen to what I said,
Ma'am,
Mr.
I'm a trained
Giuliano.
electrician. That's what I do.
Listen to what I said to you, sir. When you have a 9-year-old child,
yes,
you pick up cans. You don't have to lift anything above your head in order to pay your child support.
I understand that.
I'm glad you understand that. I just want you to understand that I know where we're coming from.
But also,
now, what were you doing skiing in Utah?
I wasn't skiing, ma'am. I drove my friends there in my truck, and along
You
with their gear
drove
in my
your
trailer.
friends in your truck
Yes, ma'am.
to Utah in February 2007. This is your sworn answer.
Yes.
I had a ski trip planned to Utah with friends. That's what you say, not what she said.
That's a correct statement, ma'am. I had a ski trip planned in February with my friends.
So?
The plan all along was for me to drive there with several of the individuals going on the trip and to haul all of the ski equipment and other snow equipment in my trailer so that people didn't have to deal with it.
Get a job driving a cab. If you could drive cross-country for a ski vacation, sir, and haul all their skis, get behind the wheel of a cab and drive a taxi, drive a limousine service.
That's not my choice of occupation.
I want to tell you something. I want to tell you something.
I don't mean
you
to
want
be
to be,
disrespectful, Your Honor.
hey, I'm speaking, you're not. You want to be a bum on your own time, that's fine. You have a 9-year-old child. Forget her. You have a 9-year-old child. I wouldn't give you 1 iota of relief from your back child support. Not one. And I know the judges in New York City, sir. That's my hometown. And they're not going to do it either. They're not going to give you 1 break, especially after I send them this tape. Now, how much does he owe you on the credit card?
$11,000.
Can I see some of the purchases that he made, please? How old are you?
Too old for this, 44 years old.
Let me tell you something.
Yes, ma'am.
I could tell that he was a bum in 5 minutes. How does it take you 6 weeks to figure out that this guy hasn't been able to get his life straight?
I have faith in mankind, which has now been destroyed.
No, you cannot have faith in mankind. Your head wasn't ruling you.
Thank you. You're right, Your Honor. You're absolutely right. He played on my insecurities.
I don't even see what his attraction is.
He doesn't have any.
Different if he,
Your Honor, he...
Looked like Tom Cruise. Jesus. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. Get him out of here.
How does that excuse? You may step out.
As the relationship progressed on, I was sure that things would work themselves out.
When I found a crumbled up piece of paper with his ex-girlfriend's phone number on it,
There were other circumstances that became involved in our relationship that I'd rather not get into.
I called her and she confirmed the fact that he'd been seeing her, sleeping with her the whole time he was seeing me.
I'd rather keep that to myself, thank you.
What went through my mind was the fact that the guy was a jerk.
I think all this got blown out of proportion.
I'm never, ever, ever trusting another man in my life.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Vas Nunes versus Moley. Step forward.
Alan and Terry Vas Nunes are suing Melissa Moley for the value of a pool table and bedroom set they sold her. The couple claims Melissa ultimately canceled her check.
Mr. and Mrs. Vas Nunes, you sold the defendant your home.
Yes.
And when you sold her your home, she also purchased a bedroom set and a pool table, independent of the purchase price of the home. I assume after the closing you moved out and she stopped payment on the check.
That is correct, Your Honor.
You want the money
Absolutely.
and the pool table. Mrs. Moley says that the pool table was misrepresented to her as a slate pool table, and it's not a slate pool table, it's something called Slatron, and she's not paying for it. Was there a separate bill of sale for the furniture?
No, Your Honor.
And did the contract for the sale of the house provide anything about furniture?
No, Your Honor.
Miss Moley, how many times did you see the house before you purchased it?
A few times.
Well, what's a few? A couple is two. A few is more than two.
Yes.
Usually more than three.
Yes, few.
Let's pause for a moment, and I want you to think how many times you were in the house before the closing.
3 times.
Is that correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
Very good. And on each of the 3 occasions, did you see the bedroom set?
I believe I did.
And on each of the 3 occasions, did you see the pool table?
Yes, I walked past it.
When you came to the house, did you come alone?
I came at different times, once with the real estate agent, once by myself, once my husband met me there.
Okay. When your husband met you there, it would only be natural for you to show him the bedroom set and the pool table.
We weren't looking at the bedroom set and the pool table. We were looking at the house.
I said it would only be natural to show him the bedroom set and the pool table if you were interested in buying it.
We weren't interested in buying it until after he had come. We had asked them later on if they were going to be selling any of the furniture.
Then I assume that your husband saw the bedroom set
Yes,
and the
he
pool
did.
table. So just answer my questions. Let's not play with each other. And I assume that when you went home with your husband, you discussed whether or not you would buy any of the furniture. That would be a logical thing to do.
Yes.
And both you and your husband decided that if they were prepared to sell the bedroom set and the pool table, you were interested in purchasing it.
I decided that, yes.
You decided that independently of your husband?
Yes, I did.
You felt as if you had the expertise to do that all by yourself?
Expertise as far as what? I just decided I was going to buy it.
And you made that decision yourself. How old are you?
39.
What kind of work do you do?
I stay home with the kids.
And your husband?
He works for Verizon.
And who makes the financial decisions in the house?
I do.
Okay. Now, on what date did you make this arrangement to sell the furniture, the pool table and the bedroom
In
set?
mid-January, after the contract and the approval to purchase my home, Ms. Moley had sent a piece of paper to my wife explaining she had interest in the bedroom set.
May I see the piece of paper? Do you have it?
And then on...
You don't have the piece of paper.
On
No, I don't,
2/28,
Your Honor.
she wrote a check.
Can I see it, please?
Yes.
That would be February 28th.
Yes, ma'am. But prior to that, on 2/18, she did come to the house the first time initially to view the bedroom set and the pool table with her son, and we opened our home to her.
Just one second.
Yes.
Miss Moley, did you write this out? Pool table furniture?
Yes.
So this is your contract?
Yes.
You have no other written contract?
Alan and Terry Vas Nunes say they sold a bedroom set and a pool table to Melissa Moley. They claim that several days later, Melissa canceled her check.
You paid him $900 for a pool table and furniture?
Yes.
Furniture that have his reference to as the bedroom set?
Yes.
Okay. And you canceled this check?
Yes, and I gave them a new check for the $450. I tried to reach them by telephone. We went to closing on the 28th. On the 1st of March, I called Terry Vas Nunes on her cell phone, which she had given me. I left her a message stating that I was disappointed the pool table was not slate, like she had told me. She didn't call me back until 8 days later. So I attempted to reach them, couldn't get them. 8 days later.
Miss Moley, listen to me. You are responsible for this. This is your contract. Absent another writing, this is your contract. You agree to purchase
a slate pool
from
table.
them. No, it doesn't say. It says pool table. It doesn't say new. It doesn't say 2004. It doesn't say green. It doesn't say. It says pool table and furniture from them for $900. This forms your contract. And when you buy secondhand furniture, if you want to be specific, you can either do one of two things. You can have an expert come and look at it before you purchase it. That you can do. Who are you?
I'm her brother, Your Honor.
Did you look at it before she purchased it?
She had called me on the phone. May I stand up?
Sure.
She had called me on the phone, and she asked me that they're selling the pool table. I said, if it's slate, she says $450. I said, if it's slate, it's a score, buy it. If it's flake board, do not buy it. The humidity in New York will destroy it. It's no good. It's not worth anything.
Well, why didn't you come and look at it?
Because I live a distance away, and she was making that decision immediately, and I told her, do not buy it. She called them up. To confirm it, is it
Listen
slate?
to me. Sit down. You weren't there when she called them? You can't report on anything that she said.
She told me it was slate when I asked her. Prior to giving her the check, I said, is it slate or is it wood? She told me it was slate. She told me the difference between slate board and wood. The balls don't bounce. The wood won't warp. It's slate. I didn't go looking under the table.
Did you have a discussion with them about that?
Melissa called me on the telephone after I gave her the $900 quote for the furniture, and she asked me if the pool table was slate. I told her I didn't know. However, I do think that it's Slatron.
In any event, there was no discussion, and there's certainly no indication in any contract that $450 of this $900 is ascribed to the pool table. The fact that you decided that the bedroom furniture is worth $450.
I didn't decide that. They told me the breakdown. There was $450 for the table, $450 for the furniture.
Then you should
She
have
told
put
me
it
was
in
slate.
the contract.
Your Honor,
First of all, I don't believe that. I believe that what happened is they said, how much do you want for the pool table and for the furniture? And they said $900, or whatever they said, and you agreed on $900. In any event, you had no right to do this. When you buy secondhand items, it's up to you. It's a buyer beware. You have to make a judgment. And you had an opportunity to bring an expert in to look at the furniture. You had an opportunity to have your brother come down to take a look at it. But you gave them a check, and this is your contract. And your contract is to purchase a pool table and furniture. That's what you bought.
Your Honor,
can't.
I'm sorry. She was tricked.
Listen to me, sir. She wasn't tricked.
Yes, I was. I was told it was slate, and it's not. And Mr. Vaz-Nunez wasn't there.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Neither was he. And what your brother said to you was, listen, if they're selling you, if they're dumb enough to sell you a slate pool table for $450, it's a score.
No,
that's
not true.
That's exactly what he just said
He
to me.
did say that, but it costs money.
I'm speaking. That's what he said. He said, sis, if they're willing to sell you a slate pool table for $450, these idiots, it's a score. It's a steal. Buy it. So you thought you were getting a real bargain. That's what he told me. Judging for the plaintiff in the amount of $900. That's
Thank you very much, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'm sorry I lost. They were dishonest.
Well, we're very pleased with Judge Judy's judgment
And they won the case.
because she is absolutely correct.
They were dishonest. That's what they do for a living, and they're good at it.
Honesty prevailed.
And now the next artist, Breezy Barrett, for breach of contract on the bartering of a vehicle. Paxton says Breezy was supposed to tattoo him in exchange for a truck.
Mr. Gerlo, you had a truck, and you traded your truck for services to be performed by the defendant, who's a tattoo artist. She paid some in cash for the truck, is that right?
Correct.
And the remainder was to be worked off in this barter arrangement, is that right?
There was also a bike included in the deal as well.
That you got?
Yes, correct.
Your claim is that Miss Berendt did half of the tattoo and then modified the agreement that you had to complete the tattoo by telling you that you could only come for your appointments between 9 and 12 at a time when you work, therefore requiring that you go to somebody else to have the tattoo finished.
Correct.
That's what you want to pay for, plus some harassment nonsense. Everybody's been harassed. You know who's most harassed here?
You.
And Ms. Berendt says that you caused her to lose business because what you did was you kept canceling appointments. And in addition to that, you sexually harassed her. So she's counterclaiming. When did you make this deal with the truck?
I'm not exact on the dates at all. I mean, I have the contract, I guess, in here. So.
Okay, so let me have the
Thank you.
contract, please. Okay, so the sales agreement requires that the tattoo is to be completed in 2-hour sessions, no more than 3 weeks apart, unless otherwise agreed to by the parties, and that's day 106, correct?
Correct. Yes.
When did you start the tattoo?
I was already in the middle of tattoos. This deal came on after I was already getting work from her.
So when you were supposed to start it in 2-hour sessions, according to the agreement?
Yes, that would have been starting that date.
So what happened?
Well, the appointments were going well. Then I would get an occasional push. She would ask me if I could come in on a different day because there was a person that absolutely had to have that appointment. And it was a way for her to make money and that she was a sole provider for her home. So I agreed. And then it became redundant. And then
what?
I didn't agree any further. It started getting to where I couldn't get anything done.
Did you ever cancel appointments yourself?
The last time that I had an appointment to go to was one I canceled.
How many times did she change your appointment?
I believe 4 times, maybe even more.
And it was always because she had a paying customer?
A paying customer or something came up. She did have a mother who was terminally ill, which I fully understood. And she also changed appointments there, too, which I did not consider in the claim.
Okay. When did she tell you about this business of only coming in the morning?
After a discussion of me not getting anything done, the whole conversation was via text, and I have it, if you'd like
I'd like to see it.
Would you like to see pictures of the truck as well?
No.
Okay.
Not necessary. Oh, well, here's your problem. Breezy, you're Breezy, right?
Yes.
Here's your problem. It is clear to me that the two of you have a dispute in these text messages with regard to whose fault it was, etc. You know, clearly you were not yourself as a result of your mother's illness, because that's clear from these emails, and that there were certain stresses in your life. But when you say to him, in the future, you shouldn't off your artist until after the work is done, would be enough for me to say that you breached this contract and I wouldn't let you do any work on me. That's a threat. I mean, I don't know anything about tattoos except that I've seen them. They're done with needles, right? Correct. I wouldn't let anybody near me with a needle who said to me I wouldn't take any action until after it was all done and I was happy. You want to say anything to me?
I would love to.
Go ahead.
After 6 months of tattooing on him, I canceled 2 appointments.
Well, that's too many.
One being I'm a sole provider of my children. I only work 5 hours a day because I have preschool pickup, drop-off, daycare closes.
Whatever. Listen,
okay.
He's not your mother. He's not your sister. He's not your brother.
He was a friend.
Just a second. You canceled 2 appointments. Not tragic.
My second appointment I canceled was because his appointment was 2 days after my mother died.
You canceled the 2 appointments.
Okay.
Whatever. I'm not making a big deal out of it.
So he called and made 4 appointments. 2 weeks, 2 hours back-to-back. No-showed on every one of them. I only work 5 hours a day.
Show me.
No-show.
Show
right
me.
here.
He says that that's not true.
Right here.
It's in pencil, Your Honor.
It doesn't matter if it's in pencil.
Let me take a look at it.
That's my appointment book. Here's my apprentice who helps make all my appointments.
Do you remember independently making these appointments?
She wasn't there at that time.
Just a second. Just answer my question. Do you remember independently making these appointments, yes or no?
During that point in time.
Just answer my question. Fine. Thank you. I want you to give me the date of the first appointment. Would you give that book back to her, please? Give me the date of the first appointment you say he missed.
Monday, January 15th.
What was the next one?
1/19/07.
Well, that's not 2 weeks apart.
No, he called after no showing and said, sorry, can you get me in? So I did. I slid him in.
Okay, well, that's not 2 weeks apart. First you told me he made appointments 2 weeks apart over a month and didn't appear. So now it's 1/15/07.
Okay.
Then you said he called you and said, I'm sorry, could you fit me in? You made it for 1/19/07, and then you say he didn't show up.
Then he had February 4th.
Go ahead.
Then he had February 16th.
Can you see missed appointments on the 15th, the 19th, or February 4th, which is why you decided to change the rule, because you have a lot of emails going back and forth, a lot of bad language going back and well, from your end. But there isn't, according to what I see here, one place where you wrote in your email that he missed appointments on January 15th, January 19th, or February 4th. And all of these text messages were written on February 6th. Not one place do you talk about 3 missed appointments.
Those are his text messages.
Show me yours.
That phone was dropped in the toilet.
Oh.
But he could easily have left off the first 4 emails for you.
He could have.
No.
And your phone maybe could have been dried off from the toilet. You have to take care of the rest of his tattoo. That was your contract with him.
I never had a problem with that.
That was your contract. How much will it cost to finish the tattoo?
It's an estimate because, I mean...
How much is the estimate?
I have it right here if you'd like to see it. He believes it to be between $1,440 and $1,800.
Can I see, please?
It depends on both arms. And
got it.
There's not more than $600 left there.
Well, then you should have done it yourself.
I would love to.
Well, you can't because you threatened him. Okay. Now, you also don't mention anywhere the sexual harassment that you talk about. You want to tell me about it?
Yeah, the entire time I worked on him, it was fondling me, grabbing on me. I leave my wife for you the whole time. That's why she's here.
Okay. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,500. The counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Because men can't suck up their pride and apologize.
somehow, some way, I still consider Breezy an awesome artist and a good person.
You want to call me and be a beep? I'll be a beep right back.
There was definitely more evidence that could have been seen that could have shown about the sexual harassment part.
Well, he wanted to turn that around and say he denied my advances.
I'm glad Judge Judy's seen it just like everybody else around town will.
And when it came down to this, his advances for 6 months, my mother died.
That it's, ludicrous.
I finally accepted his advances.
It just, the timing must have been wrong or something. I have no idea.
And then he couldn't cop too. Well, fine.
But I would have preferred as well for her to finish them.
I'm over it. Don't care.
Had that have been possible, but obviously it wasn't.
I'm going to be famous.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Burr versus Gracia, step forward, please.
Wanda Burr is suing her neighbor, Juanita Gracia, for the cost to fix her car and for vandalism to her home. Wanda says the culprit is Juanita's son, 14-year-old Alberto Lopez.
You may be seated. Gentlemen, have a seat, please.
Oh, no.
Gentlemen, stand up, please. No, you sit down.
Sit down. All right, Miss Burr, this is your son. Miss Garcia, this is your son. Neither of you were present on the day that Miss Garcia's son was in the driver's seat of your car and caused damage to it.
That's correct.
And that's what this lawsuit is about. You believe that Miss Garcia is responsible for her son's actions and should pay for the damage to your car. Miss Garcia says that it wasn't her son's fault, that your son was there the whole time, and if you want to hold somebody responsible, you should hold your son responsible. Right? Right. Okay. What's your first name?
Casey McDavid.
I want you to keep the voice here today.
No, ma'am.
You're a little nervous?
No, ma'am.
I'm going to change that. On what day were you in your mother's car?
He was not in the vehicle, Your Honor.
Where were you?
Me and my friends were on the computer, and I went to the bathroom. I came out. He took the keys off my door, and I seen the car go past the window. And I went out, and I seen him hit the tree.
You saw him.
I seen him get in my car.
Where were the keys?
They were on the door.
Of what room?
Of the front door.
And where's your computer?
In the living room.
The computer's next to the phone. Sorry.
Were you there?
No, ma'am.
Keep your mouth closed. So you were on the computer in the living room?
Yes, ma'am.
And where were your friends?
They were on the computer with me.
How many friends?
3.
Who are they?
Alberto, Brandon, and Dwayne.
What's Brandon's last name?
I don't know.
What's Dwayne's last name? Is he still your friend?
No, ma'am.
Why not?
I haven't talked to him
Since when?
Since the accident.
And what about Brandon? Have you spoken to him?
No, ma'am.
Why haven't you spoken to them since the accident, Casey?
Ever since the accident, I just lost touch.
Why? They were in the room with you on the computer, right?
Right.
They weren't near the car, so why would you stop being their friend?
I just haven't talked to him in a while.
Okay, now let me hear your version of what happened.
Me, Brendan, and Dwayne were sitting on the living room couch. I was next to Casey looking on the computer with him. Me and Brendan discussed getting in the car and listening to the music, and the keys were on the desk of the computer, not hanging. I took the keys in front of Casey. He didn't say anything. Me and Brendan went into the car, started the car.
Brendan, too?
Brendan was in the car. We started the car and started listening to music. I switched gears in the car in reverse. Casey came out and just stood there and watched us.
Casey came out?
Yes, ma'am.
And what did he say to you?
I don't know if he said anything, but he just stood there watching us. And I backed the car, and I guess...
Why did you do that?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know?
I don't know. He's taken the car out before. It's not like it was the first time he's done it.
He didn't do anything.
Well, that we've done it, he's let us drive before. And I started backing up the car. I was gonna go anywhere, and then Brendan got scared and opened the passenger door and jumped out, and that's when the door hit the tree. I stopped the car and moved it back forward, and we noticed the damages to the car.
Alberto, so whose fault is this?
Mine.
Perfect. Why didn't you convince your mother of that?
When his mother found out, we all discussed together that we will each take responsibility for it.
Who's each?
Me, Brendan, and Casey. Because
Well, it's not, just a second. Not Casey's fault. You took the keys. You didn't have permission to take the keys. Brendan, maybe. He was with you, but he didn't drive it. You did. Why is it anybody else's fault but yours?
They didn't stop me.
So let's say you're walking down the street with your mother, and you see somebody that you went to school with that you don't like, and you walk past them, and you say to your mother, I'm going to punch him in the face. You walk past him, you punch him in the face. Gets hurt. Would that be your mother's fault?
No, ma'am.
Why? She didn't stop you. She didn't stop you. You get it?
Yes, ma'am.
You have anything to say to me, Miss Garcia?
Yeah. The reason I felt that it wasn't all his fault was because all three parties were involved. Casey is older than my child. The key was in his house.
Just a second. How much older is he?
2 years older than him.
So what?
No, but he had possession of the keys.
No, he didn't. He didn't have possession of the keys.
They've done.
If he had the keys in his pocket.
No, Judge.
Hey, listen to me. If he had the keys in his pocket, and he took the keys out of his pocket and handed them to your son, the keys, your son didn't ask permission. It's like he stole the keys. And what he's saying is, well, nobody stopped me. I mean, you mean if he walked out with the silver, nobody stopped him, he could have the silver? If he saw the family jewels, and he said, I'm going to take those. And he said, well, I took them, but nobody stopped me. So why can't I have those? He stole the keys, and he went outside. And he was in the car already.
Yes, sir.
All right. How much damage did you have to your car?
I also have another incident, Your Honor, where my new truck was keyed, and I saw Alberto running from my carport that evening, and I have a police report on it as well. And there have been other instances of burnt screens, lawn bags that I've bagged up have been scattered over my yard the next morning, graffiti on the side of my house.
Listen to me, Mr. Garcia. What do you want to say? It wasn't you, right?
The police report didn't even say that. When we was there with the cops, she said that her daughter came out of the house and said that she may have saw the back of my head.
Listen to me, sir. What I'm going to say to you is, only you and I know whether or not you were involved in any of these shenanigans that's taken place in the Burr home since this incident. Unfortunately, Miss Burr knows that she has insufficient proof of what's been going on, this little vandalism and prank stuff, because I'm sure that Brandon is involved, which is why he doesn't see him anymore. I don't know about Dwayne. Dwayne was in the house. Why don't you see him anymore?
I don't know.
So you didn't tell me the whole story. You didn't tell your mother the whole story. He didn't tell you the whole story, Miss Burr. Not the whole story, but he's not responsible. You are. And if you've been fooling around with Miss Burr's property, it better stop. Because now 10 million people know that you are potentially a suspect. So there are going to be lots of eyes on you, including the police. Do we understand each other?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. What's the estimate to fix your car?
One is for $1,608, the other one's for $1,733, and the third one, $1,840.
Can I see pictures of the car, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, that's not $3,000, $1,608. Where did you learn your math?
Also for the keying of my truck.
I already told you that you have no proof of that. Okay. He did it. You weren't paying attention. Oh, you're lucky that this damage is only $1,608, that she can have it fixed for that. That's pretty nasty damage, sir. How old are you?
14.
Ever been in any trouble before?
No, ma'am.
Great. Don't get into trouble again. Your mother looks like a very nice lady. She doesn't need trouble from you.
No, she doesn't.
Judgment for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,608. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
My son called and said something had happened to the van.
We all jumped out the car to look at the damages.
And then Alberto took the phone and told me a story about boys running down the street with a hammer in their hand.
We did not know what to do.
I didn't believe it for a moment.
Not to take the keys, especially not to...
All parties in the matter of Castleberry versus Watson, step forward.
Carpenter Jeffrey Castleberry is suing his former boss, Megan Watson, for non-payment of services rendered. Megan says Jeffrey's work was substandard.
Mr. Castleberry, you worked for the defendant in her construction business. You quit over some social problem that you had. It seems that you were dating her sister. According to you, got into some sort of a kerfuffle with her sister and decided it would be best if you didn't work with her anymore.
Yes, ma'am.
So you quit. And you claim at the time that you quit, you were owed wages. Ms. Watson seems to acknowledge that you were owed wages, but she said that you took some tools that belonged to her and didn't return them, but primarily that she went and examined the work that you had done and found it to be substandard, and she had to arrange to have that work done by somebody else, so she doesn't owe you any money. And she's counterclaiming for the tools and having to have the work redone. It's a little nonsense. Not the tools necessarily, but having to have the work redone is nonsense. When did he start to work for you?
About the middle of March of 2007.
And what was the financial arrangement that you had with him?
He got paid on the jobs once I got paid on the jobs. It was
Is
a
that how-
percentage of each job.
Is that how you were paid, sir, a percentage of each job?
I don't know if it's a percentage. It was a set rate for each job. When she was paid for it, she would write me a check and she would attach one of these pay statements, which has the check number, the date, how much I was paid, which job it was, and what I did. And each time she gave, she would give, this was the first one and second, etc.
Okay, can I have it, please? And when did you quit, sir? On what date?
April 2nd.
So you only worked there a couple of weeks. Were you paid this last one, this
Yes.
pay statement, April 3rd?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were paid on this?
Yes, ma'am.
And you were paid on this?
Yes, ma'am.
And that's for all the time that you worked there?
That was for the other jobs, yes.
For the other jobs. Had you ever had a discussion with her about any work that you did while you were working for her that was unsatisfactory?
No, ma'am.
So any work that you did pursuant to that list that you had and work that you completed, you got one of these and you were paid for it?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. Now, give me the figures on the work that you did that you were not paid for.
$355.
Okay. But he did do this $355 worth of work.
Yes, ma'am.
Then you owe him $355.
Yes, ma'am. There's another job that he did an estimate on for me, and per his estimate, the door was wrong. I had to pay someone else to correct the work that from where he estimated the door being wrong.
You mean he measured it wrong?
Yes, ma'am. It was too small.
Show him.
Mr. Moore's door that you measured, and you said it was just the rough opening on that door was...
The door that we both measured.
You measured that door.
We both
Just
measured.
a second. You said that you measured it and she measured it?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me about that.
As we measured the door...
Who's we?
Her and I.
You were there together?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you there together?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, then you have a problem. You're the construction boss.
Yes, ma'am.
So?
I did measure the door. I wrote the information down that he gave me and consulted
Were
with
you
the customer.
there?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, then you should have checked him a little bit better. You owe him $355. Now, are you angry with him for some reason?
Yes, ma'am.
Why?
Because he stole some of my tools, and I have
Okay.
the receipts for those.
Tell me what tools he stole.
I have a reciprocating saw that I purchased right here.
Do you
that
have
I
that?
no longer have.
No, ma'am.
Where is it?
I never had any of her tools. As a matter of fact, some of my tools were left at her parents' house, and after I quit, I asked if she could meet me up the street to get my tools. She let me get the tools out of the back of a truck, which was my saw, and I had a bucket with my tools in it. And she was present when I did that.
Is that right?
Yes, ma'am, but I believe my tools were in his bucket because we worked out of the same truck.
Well, what do you mean you believe?
Because I no longer have my tools as of the day
Well,
I
is
gave
that what
him
makes
back
you think
his.
he has them?
Yes, ma'am.
It's not proof, Adam, of anything. Who is this?
This is my sister.
This is the one that you were dating?
Yes, ma'am.
Didn't work out?
No, ma'am.
Okay. You owe him $355. It didn't work out. You have to pay for the work. You know, it's not always a good idea to go to work for relatives.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, it tends to be messy. But, Miss Watson, what I have before me are statements of when he worked for you, what you paid him, and it appears that until there was this brouhaha with your sister, his work was fine. The only time that his work became unsatisfactory is when there was a problem. So I find that a little suspect. You have to pay him the $355 that you owe him. Judgment for the plaintiff. That's all. Thank you.
All is excused. You may step out.
Well, you see, he was trying to get custody of his children, and once he found out that my sister told the children's guardian ad litem that he has a crack problem, he lost his children, and therefore he no longer works for me.
She's referring to a drug problem that I've had a few years ago, and I've got help for her.
I felt that maybe if he worked with me and had some stability and a good, stable job, that he could maybe get his kids back.
We're still going to court for that.
He's a good person. I still love him.
No thoughts on that.
All parties in the matter of Garcia Blanks versus Carey, step forward.
Ronnie Garcia and Anthony Blanks are suing Anthony's cousin, Cassandra Carey, for a stolen car stereo and for the return of their pit bull, Coco.
This is your cousin, is that right?
Yes.
And your name is?
Anthony Blanks.
This is your wife?
My girlfriend.
Girlfriend. And you live together?
Yes.
And your cousin was living with you?
Yes.
Does your claim that she borrowed your car with your permission, and while she had your car, the stereo and amps and whatever was stolen out of the car, you believe she should be responsible for that?
Yes.
And also, when she left, without notice to you, she left and she took one of your dogs?
Yes.
Ms. Carey says that she took the car to school and the car was broken into and the stereo taken. It's really not her fault. It's a criminal matter. And that the dog was hers. Let's deal with the easy stuff first. Let's deal with the dog first. When was this dog purchased?
June of 06.
Who went to purchase the dog?
All three of us.
How many dogs were purchased?
2.
How many had you intended to purchase?
1.
Why did you purchase 2?
I couldn't decide which one I wanted.
Why do you think that Miss Carey would believe that the one that she took with her was her dog?
I have no idea.
Well, why don't you tell me?
June being right before my 21st birthday of 06, I fell in love with the dog the moment I saw her when we arrived at the home. And I wanted the dog. It was stated there at the woman's house that it would be an early birthday present, and I was to help with the other dog that we purchased along with the dogs that were already at the house prior to the purchase.
Mr. Blanks, was your niece living with you?
No, she was there off and on the weekend. Actually, for the day of her birthday, she was in Vegas or Reno. I don't remember. I can't recall which one.
You mean after August?
Yeah, she was back with her mother.
Where was the dog?
At my home, at mine and my girlfriend's home.
Okay. Were you living with your mother?
I was back and forth between the two, yes.
And when you went to your mother, where was the dog?
At their house.
When did you take the dog?
On March 27th.
You returned the dog within 5 days. Do you understand?
I'm not giving that dog
back. Oh,
back.
yes, you are. Oh, yes, you are. Listen, if I felt as if it was your dog, there's no question that dog would be with you. But when you have a dog that's yours, it's with you 24/7. Not when you go back to your mother, you leave the dog with them, they take care of the dog, then you come back, then you go to your mother, and then you come back, and the dog stays with them. You don't do that. That's not fair to the dog. I don't care about you. You are irrelevant. The dog has a companion, and this was the dog's home. And just because you may have been moving and said, well, now I'm going to take my dog, the dog was living in a perfectly comfortable place for a year. You can't uproot an animal like that. Go buy yourself a new dog.
When I tried to take the dog, when I moved out initially the first time, I wasn't allowed to. And
then sue them. Then what you do is go to court. You were over 21. Take them to court and say, you have my dog, I want to take my dog. But instead you came back and forth and lived with them, and then you didn't live with them. You also borrowed their car, right? So you weren't angry with them. You have to return the dog to them. It's their dog. Go buy yourself another one. Do you get it?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, I'm cutting an order, so they will come with a marshal to take the dog. Do you understand?
Mm-hmm.
Good. You know where she lives?
No.
Oh, I'll find out. Where do you live?
I'm between residents right now.
Where's the dog? Don't look over there.
She's at my boyfriend's house.
Where is your boyfriend?
He's here.
Here?
Here.
Well, who's taking care of the dog now?
We paid someone to babysit her.
At the house?
Yes.
Perfect. What's his address? Now!
3700.
I don't hear you.
3700.
That's where the dog is. We'll cut an order. Take a marshal and go pick her up.
Thank you.
Next. Tell me about when the car got broken into. What was the date?
The car was broken into March 20th. The report was filed on March 21st.
Can I see the report?
There's 2. There's a supplement and an original.
Whose cell phone was taken?
Mine.
Was there an alarm system on this car?
Yes.
Had you turned the alarm on?
Yes.
And the car was locked?
No, the locks, when I was issued the vehicle from him, there was no seat belts, nor did the locks on the doors work.
Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Well, did you pay for the use of the car?
Yes,
the 2
ma'am,
months
I
that
did.
you had the car, is that right?
She paid for
February.
and she used it for a total of 3 months. The first time she used it, she took it to her boyfriend's house, and I told her I didn't want my vehicle there at his house because it was way out there in case something happened, like the breaking in issue. It would be a lot harder for us to deal with. I had to go basically steal my car back because she was in Reno again with him, drunk, and brought it back to my home. Her mother called me from Vegas, begging, pleading to let me just use it so that she could finish school, which I'd help her get into, to go to school and to work, which I helped her get a job at. So after about an hour on the phone with my aunt, I finally agreed to let her use the car just to go to work and school.
Fine. What do you think should be responsible for putting the car back in the same condition as when you took it?
Initially, when we sat down to make the agreement as far as me taking the car, he stated that if anything happened to the car, that's why there was insurance on the vehicle. So I would assume it would be the insurance. Being as it was in my possession, I do accept some form of liability as far as the belongings being taken.
Good. How much was the new stereo?
About 150.
Good. And the amp?
It's about 250, 300.
You have homeowner's insurance?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. File it with your homeowner's insurance. With regard to this is not her fault. She would pay for it unless you had homeowner's insurance, but you have homeowner's insurance, so put it through your homeowner's insurance. It covers the contents of your car. You know that. That's why you smiled before at me. But you go get your dog back. Now. Do you understand? Go buy yourself a new pet. I just saved you $200. That's all. Goodbye.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There's not a whole lot I can say. It's a family dispute, so
And it shouldn't have been miscommunication. It was our home, not hers.
if a dog can come between family members,
She's not my family.
then that saying blood's thicker than water doesn't hold to be so true to me.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Dettenheim versus Dettenheim. Step forward, please.
Eve Dettenheim is suing her sister, Carol Dettenheim, for damaging her car when she ran into a deer. Carol says she offered her sister a portion of the deer meat as payment.
Ms. Dettenheim, this is your sister.
Yes, ma'am.
According to your complaint, she took your car. Your neighbors?
Yes.
She took your car, you say without permission, had an accident, you want her to pay for the damage to your car.
Yes.
Your sister says she really had your permission because she used to borrow the car all the time. You left the back door open, she grabbed the keys, she needed some diapers or something, she wanted to go to the store. There was an accident, it was unavoidable, she hit a deer, damaged the car, and her defense is you should have had better insurance. Is that your defense?
I thought she had full coverage, Your Honor.
What made you think that?
I just didn't think.
You didn't think? Who do you rely on to do your thinking?
I just use it all the time, and she would have get the key and went, and the deer just jumped out in front of me.
Was the deer hurt?
Oh, it died.
Did you wait for somebody to come and take the carcass away?
No, I put pine straw over it and
You
took
put
the
what?
antler and went and got it later.
Went and got what later?
The deer.
What'd you do with it?
Ate it.
Is that true?
Yes, ma'am, and she even offered me some, but I'm not having rigor mortis stew. I know.
It did not have rigor mortis. I went back.
That is just sick.
Can I see pictures of your car, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Where do you live, Miss Dettenheim?
Louisiana.
Where in Louisiana?
Hainesville.
How long have you and your sister been neighbors?
For 1 year.
Who moved close to whom?
She moved close to me.
You have an estimate to fix this car?
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to see it, please. Are you angry with your sister?
A little bit. I feel like she needs to own up to the responsibility that she did damage my car and make what is wrong right.
So, what do you think?
Well, that night when I told her about the wreck, I thought it was just a headlight. And, you know, we talked about it and looked at everything. But then the next morning, she come over there just hollering at me, banging on my door, telling me how I owed her and all this. And I've helped her with a lot of stuff in the past and has made my life. I had to move because, I mean, I still have the house, but I can't stay with her. She'll do stuff like rev up her engine in the morning, trying to wake up my son and stuff, trying to make my life hard. And it's become an issue. It's like the Hatfield McCoys or something. So,
do you work?
No, ma'am.
How do you support yourself?
My boyfriend.
Does he live with you?
Well, I'm staying with him now just because she's hard to be next to.
Well, when's the last time you were employed?
I'm a student right now. It's been almost a year. I've been a stay-at-home mom.
A student of what?
I'm going to be a bail bondsman.
And how often do you go to school for that?
Right now, it's just a little course right now.
So why don't you work?
because I don't have to.
Well, you have to because you owe your sister $1,300.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting to have to owe $1,300.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,300. Thank you very much.
Your Honor.
Go back to Louisiana and be happy.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
All parties on Levine versus Rodriguez. Step forward, please.
From a case earlier today, Stacy Levine claims ex-boyfriend Rory Rodriguez owes for an unpaid cell phone bill. Judge Judy adjourned the case, directing Stacy to procure the appropriate phone records.
Ms. Levine, I am advised by my court officer that you were able to secure subsequent phone bills. If my recollection is correct, when we last did the initial part of your case, Mr. Rodriguez says that he did not use the phone after the two of you broke up in August.
Correct. I have about 60
of
pages.
2006. And you said that he racked up a substantial phone bill in the triple digits and used the phone after August. So that's where we left off, because the bill that you had did not demonstrate when the balance was accrued. Do you remember the telephone number of the phone that you had that Ms. Levine was paying for?
No, I don't.
What was the telephone number?
510-89.
Who was this lady?
This is my girlfriend.
Since when?
Since March of this year.
Well, she wouldn't know the old number. You
No,
only
she
know
wouldn't.
his new phone number, right?
My
What's his new phone number?
51896, I believe.
96?
I think so. He just got a new one a couple weeks ago.
What's with him and cell phones?
There's certain people I want to call me, and there's certain people I don't want to call me.
So you mean you change girlfriends, you change your cell phone? Can I please see the bills? What was his phone number?
5171.
That sound right to you, sir?
Yes.
See what month that is? Mr. Rodriguez.
September.
$378.
Mom.
Your mother. She wasn't calling your mother, right? And when that was September 30th. So I guess you were mistaken that you didn't use it in September, right? Here we go. Now take September. Now, Mr. Rodriguez, you know what we're going to do?
No.
Would you like to do October?
Sure.
Or would you just like to pay her the money that you owe her for the cell phone?
I can pay her.
Perfect. Thank you very much. You may step down. How much is a cell phone bill?
$724.38.
We're adding on that to the plane ticket. Then you will be a free man, Mr. Rodriguez. Good?
Good.
Perfect. That's all. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Still the same controlling person that she's always been.
I'm not controlling at all.
She knew that at the time I had a job, but we were in the summer, and that I had no money at that current moment.
He just was a bum.
I picked the wrong girl.
He got a new girlfriend, he got a new cell phone, broke up with her, and then got another new cell phone. So if you ever see him out, don't buy him a cell phone.
You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Ms. Kiev, how long did you and the defendant live together?
We lived with each other for over 5 years.
In your complaint, you say it was 6.
6 years, yes. That's when the trouble started.
And during the time that you were living together, were you working?
Yes, I was working.
Continuously?
Continuously.
And what about the defendant? Was he working?
No, he was always between jobs. He had over 5 jobs.
How long were you unemployed, Mr. Monson?
It was like a month.
But other than that, you were working?
Yes, ma'am.
And how did you arrange your finances?
In my paycheck, I pay the mortgages and bills.
And what about with his paycheck?
His paycheck, whenever he can help me, he'll give me some money.
It doesn't seem like a very, very appropriate financial arrangement. Did you have a joint bank account?
At one point, we did.
Oh, fine. So you had a joint bank account. And when you had a joint bank account, did you deposit your paychecks?
Yes, I did, but money was missing from the account. Plus, child support was pulling money from the account because he owed over $53,000 in arrear back payments, which I have evidence.
That's it. You have to show me. Okay. I got it. You picked him.
Right. Right. Bad apple.
Well, I would have figured that out if it's true within a year, not 6 years. You have no children together?
No.
Perfect. This is your complaint. You say that he trashed your house when he moved out, and you want him to fix up the house, that he also took all the property in the house. When he moved out, you want the return of value of your property. Also say that he has a car that was evidently in both your names. You don't necessarily want the car back, but you want your name off the title because you don't want to be responsible for the car anymore.
Correct.
Now, Mr. Monzon says that the car is just as much his as it is yours, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Who paid for it?
Apparently I did.
What do you mean apparently? What does that mean?
Because she said that I didn't make the house payment, so then my check only paid the Montero, so I guess the Montero's mine then.
I have...
I mean, that's what she told me. My check wasn't making the house payment. It was just paying the bills in the Montero. Hello, how did you make the house payment then?
Did you take any property from the house, sir?
The property I took from the house...
No, the answer is either
yes, I did.
Or no. What property did you take from the house?
I took some furniture that I bought.
That you bought when?
When we were together.
From what money?
Is
not an answer.
Like August.
From the money August?
I mean, what'd you say about the furniture? I mean, you're confusing me, I'm sorry.
I want you to try to pay attention, not try to think ahead.
Okay.
It will be too taxing for you. I want you to think of what I'm saying just at the moment. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Where did you get the money from that you used to purchase the furniture?
Oh, from my check, from my work, my job.
Okay. Did you deposit it in a bank account?
No, I gave her my check, and I had my own money.
You mean you had different money from the money that you earned from your work?
Since we were no longer together, as she claimed, I wasn't going to give her the rest of my check anymore.
I'm asking you about the furniture that you purchased, sir, that was in the house.
Yes, I purchased it.
Oh. See, this is not going to be easy. Listen, almost marrieds don't cut it in court, especially this one. Is not particularly interested in your almost married debt, your almost married joint property, your almost married bank accounts. You choose to get married, we've created an elaborate court system to deal with that. You choose to live together without benefit of marriage. There are certain things that you're going to fall short when the relationship terminates. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Very good. So, you want the furniture or the car?
I'll take the car.
Perfect. Where's the title?
I have the registration here. It's been changed already in my name. That's what she wanted.
Fine. So it's out of her name now?
Yes, it is.
Is that what you want?
Yes, and also the F-150, his truck, my name is also on there too.
The F-150 is in my dad's name. It's no longer in the name of...
Okay, listen to me. Where is all the furniture?
Some of it is gone because she abandoned the house and me, and I didn't know when she was going to come back or not. She left right...
Where's the furniture?
It's gone.
Did it fly away, sir? Did the earth open up and take it?
Some of the furniture was still there.
Okay. Mr. Monzon, you're making my life very easy, sir. Very easy. Let me see pictures of the house, please.
Do you want to see the before or after?
I want to see both.
Okay.
And the property that he took from the house, give me an approximate value of this furniture that's gone.
The ones that I'm concerned about are my computer, our passport, necklace that I got from my mom, my late mother, and...
That's not furniture, madam. You're not talking furniture. I'm talking about furniture.
I didn't come here for furniture. I came...
Oh, because you say in your complaint that he emptied out your house.
Yes, but what I'm concerned about is my computer, my passport.
Where's her computer?
The computer was bought for me. She bought that computer for me.
No, I have...
Just a second. It's not your computer. Do you understand? The computer is going back to her. You've got the car and the truck. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you get. That's what I'm giving you. Period. Everything else goes back to her, including the computer. Do you understand? Within 5 days, the computer goes back to her. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut an order to motor vehicles to transfer the titles to both the truck and the car back to her name. Do we understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know what kind of an agreement you signed when you came here? That every decision that I made, you would abide by.
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Within 5 days, the computer goes back to her in good condition. Because if it's not, I'm going to take your car away. Now do we understand each other, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Perfect. Okay. Now I see the nice house. By the way, you have a passport, too?
No.
You're going to have to write away for another passport. All right, it's got a nice house. Can I see the after, please? Perfect. Oh, my goodness gracious me. Mr. Monzon, what were you so angry about, sir?
Well, I was angry at her, but I didn't take it out on the house. House don't hit back.
I understand from reading the complaint that there came a time when you weren't there. He changed the locks on the house. Did you change the locks on him?
Prior to November, I did.
Did you let him back in?
No, he kicked the door in.
And what did you do?
I called the police because
And the police told you that you couldn't lock him out?
No.
Okay. Did he come back into the house?
He came back into the house.
How?
He kicked the door into the house.
You already told me that he kicked the door once.
Right.
And the police were called.
Right.
What happened when the police were called?
They told me that you should have locked him up because he has every right to be here.
You shouldn't have. That's what I thought.
Because I was coming home from work, and I didn't know why I was being locked out anyways.
I would have locked you out a long time ago, but that's just me.
Judge Judy, Coach Kiev, says her former live-in boyfriend, Jovial Monzon, owes for the return of property and for the cost to repair.
Made the holes in the wall, sir.
I don't know.
I don't believe you.
Okay.
I don't believe you at all.
When I left the house, it was in good condition.
Not now. So either you did it or she destroyed her own house.
Your Honor, I was served some papers from one of her lawyers saying that they hear voices in the house. And, they hear voices in the house, and I'm at work. Hello? What did that tell you? Somebody else is in the house. Call the police, I'm being robbed.
Mr. Monzon, you walked out of the house with probably the only two valuable things that were there, which were a car and a truck. Now, you say one is in your father's name. How did it get in your father's name?
He was the one who bought me that truck, and they just put it in our name just to show him how much they cared about us, that they didn't want nothing to do with it.
He bought the truck for?
For me, but to put it in our name.
He put it in your name because you owed back child support, and they were going to take the truck if you put it in your name alone. Who are you kidding?
No, that wasn't the reason why.
Wasn't the reason why? But
No,
it was a very good reason. Is that smart of me to think of that?
Yeah, it is, but it wasn't.
Right. Right. How much is it going to cost you to clean up this mess?
I don't live there, so it's hard for me to get somebody to go and give an estimate. I've been working with my realtor, and she's been trying to get someone out there also, and we haven't.
Well, how do you expect me to figure it out?
It's a lot of damage. I have receipts from when I installed the carpet, brand new carpet, and the stove that he damaged. I have receipts of it.
In what year did you install that?
It was July '06 when I had the house on the market.
And was he living there in July of '06?
July '06, he actually went to rehab, drug rehab. He was gone for a week.
You had been living with him. So if you put the new carpet in the house, madam, it's from monies that you had pooled together.
No, this is money from refinancing my house.
How much did you take out of the house?
I took out to pay off the car, which was $21,000 on the car, and
which car?
The Montero.
You paid off the Montero?
I paid off the Montero. I have the refinancing paperwork. Shows the check distributed to Mitsubishi.
Can I see that, please? You paid off the car?
Yes, I did.
You want the car?
I do want the car back.
Oh, you want the car?
But he refused to give me back the car, so I said, if you want to keep the car, then take my name off the title because I don't want any responsibility. But if I can get my car back, I would love to have my car back because I paid for that.
She says she took out a home equity loan and refinanced the house for $21,000 and paid off the Montero. Is that true? I have paperwork here.
I guess so. I mean,
What year is the Montero?
2002.
How much was it?
$800 and something that apparently I was making the payments on.
So you can't pay for both the house and the car at the same time?
No, but apparently she said she was. It's her car and the house. Your Honor, the house, we bought the house together. I mean, I'm not even countersuing against that.
When was the house purchased?
It was purchased 2 years ago, which my parents gave her $15,000 so she can purchase the house. We could.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha. And the house was put in her name?
No, she put it in her own name.
I said the house was put in her name.
Right. Why would you put my name in there?
Why? Because you owe $53,000 in back child support. That's why. And they would have taken your house. That's why it was put in her name. Same reason that the cars were put in other people's names other than yours. Have you paid your child support?
Yes, I pay it out of my paycheck.
Oh, because now they take it out of your paycheck.
Yes, I pay
Good.
it.
Who are you living with now?
I'm between houses.
You're living in one of your cars?
No. I'm supposed to be leaving to go to Denver. Apparently, I had to come here first, take care of this.
Leaving for Denver for what?
To start anew, to get away from the plaintiff.
Where are your children?
My children are in California.
And where are you living now?
I'm living in Benicia right now.
In California?
Yes.
So you're moving hundreds of miles away from your children?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah, I know. I chose her over my kids. Stupid, huh? She gave me the choice.
Listen to me.
Yeah, I know.
Nobody makes you make that choice, sir.
You're right.
Nobody makes you make that choice.
Biggest one I made.
Okay. Now, he does not have your necklace. He does not have your passport computer, which he's going to return to you in 5 days. Do you understand?
Yes.
The house is in your name.
Yes.
Did you get a deposit for $15,000 from his family for the house?
It was $12,000, yes.
So you did. Did you pay them back?
I did.
When?
I borrowed $12,000 for the first house that I bought. When I sold that house and made some money, I paid them back after I sold the first house.
What about a down payment on this house?
I bought it with zero down.
With zero down?
Yes. The money was to put in the bank to show that I can make the payment.
And where did you get that money from?
I borrowed from my sister and from his mother.
From his mother?
Yes.
Did you give it back to her?
I did. Yes, I did.
Did she give it back to your mother?
I don't know.
You were there.
Okay, fine. Okay. You get your computer back, and I believe that you're entitled for money for the car because I believe that you made a substantial payment on the car. He's going to take your name off the title. He says he's already taken care of that. But I believe you when you say you took out a home equity line of credit, and from that you paid off the Montero. So I'm giving you a judgment for $5,000, unless you want to turn the car over to her. What's your pleasure?
I'll keep the car.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Because I was fearful for my life. He made threats.
Violent threats. She was harassing me.
He threats to shoot me and do all kinds of stuff.
And she was making demands on me, saying that, oh, I better not make any demands. She's like raising her voice at me.
I hope it's the end, but I still have...
Sworn in. You may be seated. Why don't you folks have a seat?
Ms. Blanco, Mr. Trujillo was your boyfriend.
Yes.
Your complaint alleges that he co-signed for a car for you.
Yes.
The car was titled in his name?
And mine.
But he was on the loan?
Yes.
You couldn't get credit?
Both of us were on the loan.
But you couldn't get credit yourself?
Yes.
You broke up. And the agreement, when he agreed to co-sign for you, from what I understand, was as follows. He would co-sign for you, and you would make regular payments on the car, timely, that you would maintain insurance on the car, that you would pay for his cell phone, maintain his cell phone. Anything else, sir?
Medical insurance.
And keep him on your medical insurance, pay for his medical insurance.
Yes.
That was in exchange for him obligating himself on the car loan. You broke up. According to Mr. Trujillo, you were late in many of your car payments, which damaged his credit.
Yes.
In addition, although he doesn't say it, you do, you canceled his cell phone and canceled his medical insurance.
In January of 2007, yes. This year.
Whatever. You canceled his medical insurance. There was no time limit on this contract.
It wasn't really an agreement that I was going to pay his cell phone insurance. It was more of a blackmail, and I have emails to prove that.
What do you mean? Just a second. I'll see you in a second. But it's my understanding, even from you, in your complaint, that we came to an agreement, this is what you swore to, that he would co-sign my car for me, an iPhone plan, along with adding him to my medical insurance. That's what you say.
Yes.
So you canceled his cell phone and you canceled his medical insurance. You fell behind in your car payments and he repossessed the car and turned it back in.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you did with it, or are you driving it?
I currently have the car.
You currently have the car and
Yes.
you've made up the car payments.
Right, I write it up to date.
You want all the money that you put into the car.
Not necessarily all the money, the down payment that I put into and the payments, some of the payments that I did, and for insurance and the cell phone bill that I did remove them from it, but it wasn't really an agreement. And I have emails that show that it was more of, if I take them off, that the car deal would be done and deal with.
Well, that's true. You know, you don't understand, Miss Blanco. If you made that agreement with him when he co-signed for the car for you, which is what you say in your complaint, and you subsequently break up. So you get the dates. When did you break up?
In September of 2006.
And when was the car purchased?
July 22nd of 2006.
And when did you take him off the cell phone?
The cell phone, I took him off in this February of 2007.
And when did you cut him off of your health insurance?
They didn't cancel that until August 31st of this year, after he took the vehicle and everything.
When did you cancel him from the health insurance? Not when they took him off. When did you cancel him?
When I told him June of this year.
June?
Of 2007.
And he repossessed the car?
June 10th.
Which he lied about repoing the car. He did not tell me anything.
He doesn't have to tell you anything. How many times were you late on car payments?
4 times. But I have proof from VW that I called them, everything, we stayed in touch.
I don't care whether you stayed in touch. What does that mean, Miss Blanco, that you stayed in touch?
Because they cut my hours from work. It was very unexpected. On March 10th, we had a meeting and they told us, hey, we're cutting hours by Monday. I went from working 40-plus hours to 32 hours. There was no way I could come up with the money. I was trying my hardest to get a second job, and Renee knew about this. He knew that I was trying to get a second job. I kept in touch with them every single time. I said, hey, I only paid $110 this time.
Miss
We're going to do it.
Blanco, you have to be a grown-up, sweetheart.
I was,
Listen to me. You can't visit your problems on him. The fact that you were working with Volkswagen and they don't want your old car back they want to work with you as long as they're going to get their money, right? That's one thing. That doesn't mean it's not reported to his credit as the co-signer. The fact that you lost hours impacted on him. You understand that.
I understand
That's his complaint, because he has a counterclaim. He says you ruined his credit because for 4 times, and I don't care if it was 4 times or 3 times or 2 times, if you don't make your car payment on time, the people who were responsible on that loan are going to be penalized. That was him. He has an absolute right to repossess the car for that alone. In addition to the fact that you had a contract with him, a verbal contract, he would obligate himself on the car if you would maintain him on his cell phone and your insurance. Well, after a while, you're not his girlfriend anymore. You say, I'm going to cancel that cell phone. I don't want to pay for a cell phone where he's calling other people, and I don't want to pay for his health insurance anymore. I'm canceling it.
It wasn't out of a malicious act to remove him.
It doesn't have to be malicious. That was your contract with him.
But it wasn't a contract.
Yes, it was. That's what you said. You said it was an agreement. We came to an agreement that he would co-sign my car for me and I would pay for his cell phone along with adding him to my health insurance. You want me to see what you signed?
I know. I circled that agreement part. It wasn't...
That's what you signed.
I know.
That's what you swore to.
It wasn't an
That's what you said happened. That's what he says happened. You may not want to revisit that now.
Your Honor, there's an email here that shows the only reason I kept that going was because
she doesn't understand that the email is going to support exactly what I said. Yeah, he says to you, you keep me on your insurance and your cell phone plan, and we'll keep the same car deal. That's what he says.
But it wasn't the car deal. The reason why it says car deal is because when we first signed up for the car, we signed up on July 22nd. A couple days after that, the guy that we did the car loan with called us in and said, hey, we have a better interest rate for you. If you come in, we could redo the contract. So I got sick a couple days after that, so we couldn't go right away. I had surgery, everything was fine. We went back and redid the contract, but before we redid the contract, we got into an argument, and I said, you know what, we have to take this out of my name, or out of your name, put it into my own name, now that, this is not how it's supposed to be. And in that email it says,
Ms. Blanco, was the car in both your names?
Yes.
Was the loan in both your names?
Yes.
Do you have proof, sir, that your credit score went from one thing to another?
I do.
Can I see it, please?
Sure. This is the before and the after with the credit scores highlighted.
I have the proof of, or not proof, but when we first co-signed the car, they did a credit check on us, and I have the credit score that they gave us on his and
Not
mine.
us, him.
And mine. Both of ours.
Just his.
Oh, you want
What was his?
His was 776.
Now it's 630. Now it's 630, based upon your 4 late payments.
Judge Claudia Blanco says ex-boyfriend Rene Trujillo owes for illegally repossessing her car. Rene is countersuing, claiming Claudia's negligence ruined his credit.
Now, is this a new car?
Yes.
You know, Room? The car is diminished by 20%?
Yes.
So he had to take over a car that was now worth 20% less because you ruined his credit, in addition to cutting off his cell phone and insurance. Forget that. So you don't get anything for that, Ms. Blanco? Nothing. You should have kept up your end of the deal.
It wasn't an agreement. I know that says in its agreement, but when we were signing it upstairs, I circled it and said it wasn't really an agreement.
Whether it was or it was not, you cannot ruin the co-signatory's credit rating because you had a problem with your job. That's not his problem.
He knew that, and we were trying. We both wanted to make payments on it, but they didn't take credit card. And I tried my hardest to get a second job.
Crying. Did you buy a new car?
No, I have not.
Why not?
I'm saving up for it.
Good. That's what you should have done. That's what you should have done.
And that's what we wanted to do, and I wanted to do, and I have proof that I tried my hardest to get my car to pass smog so that I didn't have to get a new car. Chucky was also there as when I was searching for a new car. I did not want payments whatsoever, and he convinced me to get a new car and get payments.
You are a very strong young lady, and you don't seem to me like somebody who's shy. You got into difficulty. he had a right to take back the car.
Not the way he did, though.
Listen.
I was
not
at
saying
work, Your Honor.
I'm not saying he was Prince Charming. He had
I
a
know.
right to take back the car.
But I was at work, Your Honor, when he came, and I had lunch with my boss, and he just took the car. He did not warn me. After lying about having this...
Police, Ms. Blanco, I'm here to decide a legal issue. The legal issue is, did he have the right to take the car? Absolutely. Did he have the right to sell the car? Absolutely. Does he have the right to keep the car and make the payments? Absolutely. That is his prerogative, because you ruined his credit. You have no right to do that. You have to be a big grown-up girl and not say, because I lost my job, I had surgery, I had other things that happened to me, and I this and I have that. It's not my fault. He took the car the way I was having lunch with my boss. He didn't give me notice. You breached the contract to make the payments in a timely manner. May not have been of your own volition. It may have been because, I don't know, the sky was falling and henny penny and whatever other reason it was, but that can't impact on him. He's not your boyfriend anymore. He's not your boyfriend. He's not your father. He's not your brother. He has no moral obligation to you whatsoever. Now, you're driving the car, sir?
No, it's currently garaged at my mother's house.
Why?
Because I have nowhere to put it at. I go to San Francisco State, and I have no
Well,
garage
who's going to drive the car?
My mom's driving it right now.
Oh, your mom's driving it. Good. So you have a nice car, right?
Right.
Good. So what are you complaining about?
By the time I sell the car to my supervisor here, I won't have lost $5,000.
Well, you should have sold it to her sooner.
She doesn't have. She's going to apply for a loan.
You should have sold it to her sooner. That's not her problem. That's your problem.
Okay.
You took back the car. Car is in good running order.
Yes.
And now you're paying for it, and you're going to sell it to somebody else.
To her.
And right now your mother's driving it.
Right.
Very nice. Your counterclaim's dismissed.
Okay.
So is your claim. You're not entitled to any money back. That's all. Thank you. Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Well, as the Judge Judy said, she needs to grow up,
He's got a lot of issues to take care of, a lot of them,
be an adult about things, and pay her bills on time.
before he gets into a relationship like this again.
Lesson learned.
Be seated.
Miss Keenest, this is your daughter.
Yes, it is.
Does she have any siblings?
Yes, she does.
How many?
2, a brother and a sister. She's the oldest.
Is she a cute baby?
Gorgeous.
Is she a nice baby?
Yeah, very well-mannered.
Must have been, because you had 2 more.
Yeah.
Well, you're not getting along so much anymore, and it is your claim that your daughter owes you the balance of 2 loans. One loan that you made to her several years ago in order to permit her to open up a business. That loan was for $10,000, and she's paid back a substantial part of that loan.
That's correct.
Over the course of the last 3 or 4 years. You were opening a beauty salon, and you were able to do that through the loan from your mom.
Exactly.
The second loan was for $2,000, and that was more recently, and that was to permit her to get an attorney because she was going through a divorce.
Correct.
With regard to that $2,000, your daughter says there was never any discussion of a loan, that you were ecstatic that she was divorcing the husband, and you agreed to help her secure an attorney so that she could
That's not true, Your Honor.
so that she could successfully conclude the divorce process. So let's deal with the first loan. When was that, Ms. Jaworski?
It would have been in August because I bought the business. I took possession
August
of
of what year?
03.
And it was for $10,000?
Yes.
Was there supposed to be interest paid on the loan?
No.
Well, tell me how you were going to make this loan with no interest.
I knew that she had money left over from my grandmother's estate.
Put your hand down. What do you mean left over?
Well, my grandmother didn't take care of things how you're supposed to, and so all of the money that was left out of her estate went to the state for her care. But there was somehow this money left over that the state didn't
How
know
much
about.
money?
I knew of $10,000.
Okay, go ahead.
And so I asked my mom if I could borrow that $10,000 from her because I knew it was in the bank sitting there, and so that there wouldn't be interest or anything on it because we already had the money.
Well, there would be interest on it. If she loaned you $10,000, then she's losing the interest on $10,000 for as long as it takes you to pay her back.
There was never any discussion of it.
But you do understand that.
I understand what you're saying, but in my mind, it wasn't that way.
I don't care what was in your mind.
There.
What I'm telling you is, if your mother takes the money out of the bank, then she's losing interest on it, so there is a loss. I also don't understand why she should make this loan to you without interest when you have a brother and a sister. Why would she just let you have it all yourself?
Because it was just going to be a loan. It was going to be paid back.
In what period of time?
There was no set period of time because when you open a business, you never know. Most businesses fail in the first 5 years. And
But what happens if your business failed? You mean you weren't going to pay her back the money?
Well, no, I never intended not to pay her back the money.
But you just said most businesses fail within the first few years. What happens if your business failed?
Well, if my business failed, I would still have to pay her, but that was just to help me out. It was my mom helping me out. It was family helping family out.
But you didn't take that money out of the bank.
At the last minute, she had decided that she was going to pull it off of a credit card because she was nervous about the state finding out that she still had that money.
You mean she didn't think that they would find out about it if she kept it in the bank? Go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. I'm listening to the story. So she wanted to take it off of her credit card rather than take it out of the bank because she was afraid that the state would find out.
Well, she was worried that they would find out and then she wouldn't have the money sitting there.
Keep going.
No, that's really what happened.
Keep going.
And so at the last minute, she decided to pull it off of her credit card because it was 0 interest. And either way, it wouldn't matter. There was
Zero
no
interest for how long? Forever?
I don't know.
What do you mean you don't know? You're in business. You don't have 0 interest forever, maybe for a year or two, but not forever.
I never saw any of the credit card information. I have no idea, to tell you the truth.
Well, let's understand this. You knew at the time that you accepted this loan that it was coming off of a credit card.
At the last minute, yes.
I don't care if it's the last minute or the last second. You always could say no.
I know, but I'd already given
Listen to me. You always could say no.
And then if I had...
Who cares what happens if you had? If you had, you go to work in somebody else's beauty parlor. Now, there was 0 interest. And as a business person, you know that 0 interest isn't forever. It's for a fixed period of time, which was for how long?
2 years.
That brings us up to 2005. As of August 2005, how much money did you give her?
I haven't split it out. These are just the statements that I have until then.
Well,
I didn't add that up.
I don't do that. Math wasn't my strong suit.
Me either.
You either? Then you
No.
shouldn't be in business. But if you didn't pay her back in the 2-year period of time when there was 0 interest on the credit card, you owe her whatever the interest is. End of discussion. Now, how much is on the credit card?
On the credit
Not with the $2,000 for the lawyer. I'm not dealing with that yet.
Well, it was all on one credit card, and the balance due on it when she stopped making the payment was $4,995.
Show me.
Ma'am, before you roll, can I say something else?
Well, this is not the last one. That's after I've made a payment, but I'd like the last 6 or 7 payments on it.
Now, you wanted to say something, Ms. Jaworski?
I do, because the interest situation, she had said when we put it on that credit card that if the interest came due, that she would either take the money out of the estate and put it back on there. So I would never, the agreement was never any interest. It really wasn't.
Listen to me. You knew at the time she was taking out an interest-free loan for 2 years in order to cover this loan that she was making for you. You had 2 years to pay her back. You didn't. Then interest develops, and whether she takes the money out of the bank and loses interest, you still have to pay. Now tell me about the $2,000 for the lawyer.
When we were going through the divorce, or when Chris...
When was that?
That would have been in 2000, I believe, 5.
Now, by 2005, we were starting to get some interest on this loan.
Okay.
Keep going.
Okay, well, so then we're going through our divorce, and I didn't have the money to retain a lawyer. At first, we were just going to do it ourselves. And I was telling her that he was going to try to get custody of the children from me, and that I needed to retain a lawyer. And what I don't understand is she hated...
Just don't tell me anything other than what happened. Not what you don't understand, not what you do understand. Not interested in what you understood. Tell me what happened.
Judge Sakina says her daughter, Jamie Jaworski, owes for 2 unpaid loans. Jamie says her mother is conspiring with her ex-husband to ruin her life.
Now, you were crying to your mother that your ex-husband was going to try to get custody of the children, and you couldn't afford a lawyer. You didn't have any money.
Basically. And she
Right.
said not to worry
And?
about it, that she would take care of it. And she sent me 2 checks.
From where?
From her credit card.
And?
And she wasn't worried about me paying her back. I didn't know how I was going to end up financially after the divorce.
How did you end up financially after the divorce?
I ended up giving him basically everything. I got $20,000 equity out of the house, of which I gave her a check for $4,000.
You did give her a big check. So if you got $20,000 from the sale of the house, why didn't you pay her back everything that you owed her?
Because I was buying another house, and I was trying to have a little nest egg in case when you're employed by yourself, it's always good to have a little money back up.
Well, but if the only nest egg your mother had was the $10,000 she had of your grandmother's money, why should you have a nest egg and not her?
I don't know. I really thought about it that way.
But isn't that a nice way to think about it, Ms. Jaworski? I mean, how old are you?
I'm 37.
And how old is your mother?
My mom must be 57.
Yesterday.
57. So if somebody has to sort of struggle to put together a nest egg, isn't it easier for you, who's starting a new business, to put together a nest egg than your mother, who's 57? Especially since you spent the money. So it's real nice of you to want to have a nest egg all by yourself. But if what you're suggesting is that your mother said, well, if you don't pay the note back in the 2 years, that it's interest-free, you'll take the money out of your nest egg.
No, that wasn't the way it is. I think.
Well, that's what you just told me.
But
I'm just following what you told me.
I think you're misinterpreting it.
No, that's what you told me.
No, it's not.
Does that sound what you just told me?
Sounds like what she told you.
That she would take the money out of her nest egg and pay off the credit card and wait for you to finish putting your nest egg together so you would pay her. Duh.
If you have a business and you don't have operating capital and you don't have money to buy and bring things in and out, you can't run a business. And so that's what I used the other part of that money for.
That's not what you just told me.
It is. I had it.
No,
in a
that's
little,
not what you just told me.
I had it set aside so if something happened with the business that I could keep it going.
That's your nest egg.
Well, I had to because if
you owe
I
your
lose,
mother $4,000.
If I lose the shop,
you owe your mother $4,000, and I gather that the reason she's here is because you stopped paying her, according to your mother, because you had an estranged relationship for a while. Why, I don't know.
Because she's seeing my ex-husband.
Well, that's what you say. That's what you say.
That's not true. I'm seeing my grandchildren.
That's what you say. I think that makes it very convenient for you, Ms. Jaworski, because she wasn't seeing her grandchildren, and she wrote a letter, according to her, to her grandson when he was at his father's house, and his father called her and said, if you want to see the boys, you can see them, and she's been seeing them at your ex-husband's house, which ticked you off. So you stopped paying the loan. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $4,000.
Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
There will not ever be a relationship.
I was done when she stopped making the payments.
It's not about the money. It's about the things that she's done.
It's just the way she is. She's very self-centered.
The fact that she's seeing my ex-husband.
She's whacked in the head. He's got a girlfriend.
I just think it's odd that he would go spend a week with her when they've had no relationship and they hated each other.
This is the second or third time she's gone around.
All parties in the matter of Miller versus Miller. Step forward.
19-year-old Ashley Miller is suing her aunt, Shauna Miller, for repossessing her car. Shauna claims Ashley didn't abide by the terms of their agreement.
Okay. Very complicated story. Let me see if I can simplify it because it's getting late in the afternoon and I'm getting a little tired. This is your aunt.
Yes, ma'am.
Who did a very nice thing for you several months ago.
Yes, ma'am.
And agreed to purchase a car. She was primarily responsible on the loan. You were a co-signer on the loan because you didn't have good credit.
Yes, ma'am.
You went shopping. You put $1,000 of your hard-earned money down on the car.
Yes, ma'am.
And you gave your aunt $1,000 towards insurance.
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of car did you buy?
It was a 2007 Hyundai Accent.
And it was brand new?
Yes. Only had 5 miles on it.
And when did you purchase it?
February 8th.
And the understanding was that you were going to make the payments on the car and eventually, hopefully, get the loan out of your aunt's name because she didn't want to be responsible for this thing. And you were going to take care of the car, and there were certain things that you were supposed to be responsible with.
Yes, ma'am, after 6 months.
And your aunt took the car back after 2 months.
Correct.
You want the money that you and you want $600 back for the insurance that wasn't used because she took the car back. So you want back $1,600. Your aunt says that you were irresponsible with the car. In the 2 months that you had the car, you put on how many miles?
3,400.
3,400 miles. Where did you go for 3,400 miles?
Well, I went back and forth to work, and I did go to my friend's house. I went over to their house because they asked me to come visit them every day. So I tried. I went back and forth to school every day after work because I go to school 4 days a week.
Where do you work?
Vanderbilt Security.
In what country? Now, did you loan the car to anyone?
No, ma'am.
Did you make any long trips?
I did one long trip, and that was to West Virginia.
From where?
From my house.
Which is where?
Maryland.
Who did you go with?
I went with my 2 sisters because they were up here visiting from Florida.
Did they ever drive your car?
No, ma'am.
Was there any damage to the car?
No, ma'am, not when I had it.
When did you take the car back, Miss Miller?
May 4th.
So she had the car 3 months?
Close to, yes.
Why did you take the car back?
Well, one of the agreements was that she was to stay in touch with us. She was not to have anybody in the car. She was on our insurance because the insurance was in excess to what she could afford. So we turned around.
Just a minute. Did you have an agreement with her that there wasn't to be anyone else in the car?
Prior to signing of anything, yes. I've had the same agreements. I've got my daughter here, Sherry, who is under the same agreement with a car that we have. And also with my other children, I have a 30-year-old son and a 28-year-old daughter. I've done it with all of them. You know, with the same agreements. I know, good heart, but you know what? It builds character and shows them responsibility. And yeah, I've been batting.
Do you have an agreement with your aunt not to have anyone else in the car?
No, ma'am.
What was the discussion that you had with regard to having other people in the car?
No, ma'am. The only agreement that we had with the car was not to let anybody drive the car and to make sure I make the payments on the car, and that was it.
Not to let anybody else drive it?
Yes, to drive it. That was it.
I believe you.
That was it.
I believe you.
Thank you.
I believe her. Because I think it's ridiculous to have an agreement that nobody else can be in the car.
Well, okay.
I believe that you made an agreement with her that nobody else was to drive the car.
Well, actually, well, okay.
But not be in the car. That sounds unreasonable for somebody who's making payments on the car, who's given you the down payment and paid for the insurance. The insurance may not cover anybody else driving the car,
right?
But certainly being a passenger in the car. Why not? Keep going. So, she didn't keep in touch with you, and?
She didn't keep in touch, and when I tried to call her, she was avoiding the calls. I had to go through my father-in-law to call her to call back. My husband and I went up to her place of employment to where we looked at the car. There was dents, 4 of them, going down this way, not like a car had opened and hit it. The dents were going this way. And
do you have pictures of the dents?
Oh, I do, yes.
I'd like to see the dents that you're talking about.
This is the car. Dents. I've got an estimate also.
No, I don't need an estimate.
Okay, that's the dents.
Those are dings. There's a ding. It's a ding. It's nothing. You had no right to take the car back.
Okay.
So your counterclaim's dismissed because you're counterclaiming. You say you're now stuck with a car.
Hold on, Your Honor.
I didn't ask you anything. You're now stuck with a car that has 3,400 miles on it. It's depreciated. Well, you know, as soon as you drive a car out of a lot, it depreciates. But as long as she was making the payments, was she?
Yes, she was.
And she paid for the insurance?
Yes, she did.
The car looks perfectly good shape to me. It may have a couple of dings on it. That's unfortunate. But that doesn't look as if it's been in an accident. You had no mileage requirements. You have no basis to take the car back. Yes?
We did have the reason why she wasn't
No,
allowed
you
to-
didn't.
Yes, we did. We made an agreement with her.
Show me it written down someplace that you had a mileage agreement with her.
It was to keep the value of the car up.
Show me where you have an agreement with her
we do
that
not
you have a
know.
mileage
It
agreement.
was a verbal agreement.
Baloney.
Just like the part with
Baloney.
the insurance.
Baloney.
Until she got it in her own name or her own insurance, she
Baloney. You
wasn't
had no
supposed to have
reason to
anybody
take the
in
car.
it.
Don't speak to me anymore. You had no reason to take the car back. Unfortunately, Miss Miller, you did a very nice thing for your niece.
I thought so.
You probably had second thoughts about it, but you didn't have a basis to breach the agreement and take the car back. And she's entitled to her money, or you give her the car back. What's your pleasure?
Can I say something real quick? She assured me that no drinking, no partying, and everything else. And she was drinking and she was partying, but, you know.
Well, show me proof that she was drinking in the car.
Oh, I can't show you
drinking
proof.
and driving.
No.
So?
Okay.
That's what you need. You need proof. Put your hand down. That's what you need. You need proof.
Okay.
Where's the car now?
In my yard.
You want your car back?
Can I speak?
Yes.
The whole drinking thing has nothing to do with it because I didn't do it when I was driving. And the car they gave to her daughter after they took the car from me. After like a week went by and they called me and told me, asked me if I want the car back. And I said no because they already took the car. And after that, I felt like, you know, since they took it from me once, they would do it again.
Did you get another car?
No.
How many miles are on the car now?
There's quite a bit.
What do you mean quite a bit? There was 3,400 miles when you took it. How many miles are on
Well,
the car
I
now?
drove it back and forth to work myself. And my daughter's driving. Okay.
You owe her $1,600. You had no basis to take the car back.
Can I get her to sign off on this title, or how do I have to
Absolutely.
do it? Okay.
Absolutely. You can get her to sign off on the title as soon as you get the bank to release her from the loan. Why would I have her sign the title off until you can get her off on the loan?
Okay, I can, yes.
Okay, so we'll cut an order that as soon as you get her off on the loan, she's going to sign off on the title, right?
Yes,
you don't want
ma'am.
the title in your name?
Nope, ma'am.
Very good. Judgment for the plaintiff, the amount of $1,600. Thank you.
Parties are excused. Step out, please.
No comment.
My uncle had told me that my aunt would co-sign for me for a car.
I went over to her work and told her about it when I took it.
No drinking, no partying with the car.
They took it a couple months later for no reason at all, just because I didn't hang out with them. That's it.
The insurance, it's not right. You do wrong with the car, you get it taken away.
She had the option to come and get the car back. All she had to do was get her own insurance. I didn't want people on my insurance riding around with her.
I didn't party with the car. I wasn't driving if I ever did drink when I had the car.
My mom tried to do a good thing and she got burned.
Well, hopefully everybody can just get along. As far as speaking with him ever again, not hurt by it.
All parties in the matter of DeGuire versus Stafford. Step forward.
Steve DeGuire is suing his ex-wife, Kimberly Stafford, for the return of child support. Steve claims that Kimberly has been defrauding him for over a year.
Mr. DeGuire, let's see if we can resolve this today.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Miss Stafford is your former wife, and you have one child. Well,
Yes.
you have a child together, a boy. I assume that's this young man right here?
Yes.
You've been divorced for how long?
It's been 18, 19, 20 years. It's been a long time, since 89.
And you've been paying child support since the divorce?
Yes.
And it is your claim that you made several payments of child support after your son turned 18?
Yes.
That you shouldn't have because he was not successfully enrolled in college. And your former wife says, well, he's trying. It's pretty much a defense. What does your judgment of divorce provide for with regard to child support, Mr. DeGuire?
The original divorce decree called for $50 a week, and 89, or no, it was 93, I think it was. It was raised to $467 a month.
Okay. And is that what it remained?
Yes.
And until when are you supposed to pay child support, sir?
Until he is emancipated. Under the state statute, he was supposed to keep a certain grade point average. And he...
Okay. Now, emancipation occurs at different points. I assume it's 18 where you are, unless certain criteria are met.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a copy of that state statute?
Yes.
I'd like to take a look at it because I was Stand up, young man. Tell me your first name.
Ryan.
How old are you, Ryan?
19.
After your parents divorced, did you have regular visits with your dad?
Every weekend.
Get along okay?
Every other weekend. Yeah, everything
Get along
went fine.
okay?
Yeah.
Great. This statute, do you know what it says? Well, it says that despite the fact that you turned 18, if you're attending a school and successfully complete at least 12 credits, then your dad is supposed to continue to pay his child support until you reach 21. That's what it says.
Okay.
So let's go to last year. What school were you going to?
Jefferson Community College.
Was that your first year of college?
Yeah.
Did you successfully complete 12 credits?
No.
In either semester?
No.
How many credits did you successfully complete?
0.
Why?
I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. Halfway through my first semester, I changed my major.
Who did you discuss that with?
One of my counselors and...
Discuss it with your mother?
And my mother, yes.
And when your grades came after the first semester, what kind of discussion did you have with your mother?
That I just needed to try better and to actually figure out what I needed to do. And
So you failed everything?
Right.
And what about the second semester? Now you've changed your major.
And the second semester, same thing.
Okay. So, Miss Stafford.
Yes.
Were you aware of the fact that your former husband paid child support as long as the statute was not satisfied, which seems pretty detailed?
It does, but to the best of my knowledge, it doesn't have a particular grade point average. That
doesn't have to have a grade point average. He had a grade point average of 0. I mean, this is not a very subjective test.
Right.
It says, so long as the child enrolls for and completes at least 12 hours of credit each semester. Well, he did not complete 12 hours of credit his first semester. He did not complete 12 hours of credit his second semester.
And the college allows him to re-enroll?
Just a second.
Okay.
Well, that's true, but it says as long as he completes 12 hours of credit each semester and achieves grades sufficient to re-enroll at such institution. Achieves grades.
I understand that.
So, that being the case, you are absolutely 100% correct that Ms. Stafford should return to you, under this statute, all the support that you paid after he turned 18. That's it. There's no issue. Now let's see if we can resolve it. How many children do you have, Mr. DeGuire?
Altogether, counting him, 4.
Is he the oldest?
Yes.
And I assume that from what your son says, you enjoy a good relationship with him.
Yes, it's been very good. Very good.
Great. And I assume you want him to be successful.
Yes, I do.
So why don't we do this? He's 19 years old. I don't think pursuant to this, and you're entitled to your money back, which you're going to get. But pursuant to your moral parental responsibility, not your legal parental responsibility, how about we do this? How about if your son enrolls in school and he successfully completes 12 credits, you give that money directly to him and he gives it to his mother towards the tuition when he shows you his GPA. Would that be satisfactory to you, sir?
That would be satisfactory. Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound fair to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Does that sound fair to you?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're starting school in September again?
Yes.
And your father wants you to succeed?
Yes, ma'am.
And your mother wants you to succeed?
Yes,
Do you live at home?
Yes.
When you show your dad your GPA in December, if you successfully complete 12 credits, and he's prepared to accept C's, right?
As long as he's passing.
Then he's going to be putting the money away, $467 a month. He's going to give that money to you, and your mother's going to expect you to turn that money over to her to defray the expenses of you living there, because that's what the statute seems to say. It doesn't provide for a hiatus. But I think from a moral perspective, if you've had a wonderful relationship with him up until this point, you want him to succeed. And if he needed an extra year to do it, I'm sure you want him to have a little bit of wiggle room.
Yes.
You owe him $1,868 because he did not do the right thing. And if he was blowing off school and suddenly getting 24 credits of Fs, suggests he could have been working in a gas station. He could have been working in Burger King. I mean, what do you have to be walking around school for? He wasn't even going. So he doesn't get any stars for that. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,868. With your agreement, sir, that when you see that GPA that is at least a 2.0, he gets the money.
Yes, ma'am.
Fair?
That's fair.
Very good. We'll draw up an order. Thank you.
How do you ready to step out?
I first found out that he was working 2 jobs.
Same thing happened in high school.
About a week later, I got the copy of his transcripts with the F's on it.
I didn't do my work at all.
I hadn't expected him to flunk out like that.
I didn't try very hard at all.
I hope he learns to do what he's supposed to do.
I didn't give it my best.
I just want him to succeed and do what he's supposed to do.
I try my hardest.
When it comes down to it.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Bile versus Darling. Step forward.
24-year-old Jordan Bile is suing 19-year-old Jacob Darling for crashing his motorcycle during a test drive. Jacob claims the accident was due to the motorcycle's faulty brakes.
Mr. Bile, would you tell me something about yourself, sir? Your age, what you do for a living, schooling?
Yes, ma'am. My name is Jordan Bile. I'm a laboratory technician for Sherwin-Williams. I'm 24 years old. I attended Pensacola Christian College for 2.5 years. I've been working at Sherwin-Williams for 3 years as a laboratory tech.
So you sound like an intelligent young man.
Yes, ma'am. I like to think so.
It's a relatively simple case. You were selling a motorcycle. Had a for sale sign on it?
Yes, ma'am. That's correct.
The defendant and his girlfriend
Yes.
came over and said, gee, you may be interested in buying it. I'd like to take it on a test drive. So far, right?
No, he actually offered the test drive.
Oh, he did?
Yes.
And tell me something about yourself, Mr. Darling.
My name's Jacob Darling. I'm 19 years old. I work full-time at Tom's Crane Service doing landscaping and maintenance. I also go to Akron University full-time, majoring in engineering right now.
So you're a smart guy.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to.
So he offered you a test drive.
Mm-hmm.
Offered you.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you said fine.
Mm-hmm.
And he took the bike out for a test drive, and he crashed it.
Yes, sure.
And you want him to pay to repair it. Mr. Darling has a counterclaim because Mr. Darling says that after he crashed the motorcycle and came back with it, you said to him, oh, it was the brakes. I've had trouble with those too. Did you ever say that to him?
No, ma'am, I did not.
Now, the reason that I asked the two of you for your background is because that would be one of the dumbest things that anybody could say. Oh, you crashed the motorcycle because the brakes were bad. I've had problems with the brakes myself. And I wanted to know what kind of moron he was, Mr. Darling, because he would have to be a big moron if I believed your answer, right?
Yes.
He would have to be a super big moron to say, oh, you hurt yourself, you're out of work, you ruined my motorcycle, and it's my fault because I let you drive a motorcycle with bad brakes.
If I could explain the circumstances.
Just a second.
Okay.
Do you understand where we're going, Mr. Darling?
Yes.
Good. Now you can explain the circumstances.
Okay, I test drove this motorcycle, and I was going below the posted speed limit of 25. I entered the turn. It was the final turn before I was back to his house. I noticed that there was gravel in the turn, which on a motorcycle you cannot go through a turn in gravel or you will slide out. So I had to stop before the turn so I could slowly proceed through it. Without the use of the back brakes, after pressing on the pedal and getting nothing from them, I wasn't able to slow down in time to make the turn, so I had to go straight into the ditch. On the way back, Mr. Bile was pushing the bike back, and me and my friend Allison were walking slightly behind, and I mentioned...
My friend Allison and I.
Yeah, my girlfriend Allison. But anyway, we were walking back, and I mentioned to her, she was like, what happened? What happened? And I said, the brakes didn't work. The rear brakes, I pressed the pedal, and they just did not work. So when she said, you must tell him that, you have to tell him that. Once we got back to his house, I then proceeded to explain the rear brake difficulty that I had, and he was like, oh yes, I did forget to mention that I have had problems with the brakes.
In a million years, I don't believe you.
No, ma'am.
My witness...
I don't care. Your witness could stand there on a stack of Bibles, and I wouldn't believe her either. Were you bleeding?
Yes.
So you were injured.
Yes.
Visible. He could see that, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he could see that his bicycle was ruined.
Mm-hmm.
And right there and then, he accepted responsibility for your injuries and the bicycle being crashed by saying, I had problems with the brakes.
I don't think it was something he meant to say, but once he was surprised by me saying that and did answer that the brakes did have difficulties. And I made a police report the day after the incident because I was in the hospital the night of. The police officer then looked over it and agreed that I wasn't responsible because there was really nothing I could do. So he gave me...
Show me the police officer wrote that. Let me see what the police officer wrote, Mr. Darling, that there was nothing you could do, that you weren't responsible. I'd like to see that in his report.
I don't have anything from that. He did...
Then I can't hear that, Mr. Darling, because if you don't have it, it doesn't exist.
Okay. He did speak to, or he came and spoke on my behalf in court, which I got out of the points of the ticket.
Did you get a ticket?
I did get a ticket.
For what?
For failure to control, because he said ultimately I was
Don't tell me what he said. That's hearsay. You were convicted, correct?
I was cleared of the conviction after going to court.
You have a dismissal of that ticket with you.
I don't actually have the dismissal of the ticket, but I didn't receive any points on my license.
I don't care whether you received points or not.
Okay.
Now, Mr. Bile, did you have any knowledge that there was damage to the brakes on this bike?
No, ma'am.
When was the time, immediately preceding the time Mr. Darling test drove the bike, that you rode the bike?
I think I rode it for the last time in November, the previous year, 2006.
How long had you had the bike?
I've had it for 7 months.
So it was a brand new bike?
Brand new. Bought it from the dealer.
How much did you pay for the bike, sir?
$1,475.
And how much were you selling it to Mr. Darling?
I was selling it for $1,300 or best offer.
Well, that's what you're going to pay for it, Mr. Darling, because to fix it is going to cost $1,852.23.
I do have more evidence here that...
Yeah, go ahead. Let me hear.
He sent me a letter saying he was disappointed he hasn't heard from me about the bike to get a repayment. And in this letter, there's a list of what's wrong with the motor is included in this list, which is the problem that I had with it, was with the rear brakes.
What else is in there?
He includes a very extensive release form that would discharge him, his family, and any representatives from any claims, demands, losses, or anything that I experienced.
Absolutely.
Meaning he must have felt that
Don't tell me what he felt.
Okay.
Don't tell me what he felt, sir. It's a brand new bike, 7 months old.
It was a very cheaply made bike, to say the least.
Then you shouldn't have taken it out, sir.
I know I shouldn't have.
And you shouldn't have taken it out. You did take it out, and you ruined it. You're going to pay for it. It's yours. You bought it. $1,300. Judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
As are excused. You may step out. That's back up to you, right?
If I would have known the brakes didn't work, I wouldn't have got on the bike.
Completely incorrect. I had driven the motorcycle that day, and everything was functioning perfectly.
There's not much else I could do to avoid the accident.
I'm just happy that justice was served today.
Hello, friends. Welcome back to my channel. কেমন আছো তোমরা সবাই? আশা করি সবাই অনেক অনেক ভালো আছো, আর আমিও খুব ভালো আছি। তো তোমাদের ওদিকে গরম কেমন পড়ছে অবশ্যই কিন্তু জানাবে। আর বৃষ্টিও হচ্ছে, তারপর এত গরম কেন হবে সেটাই বুঝতে পারছি না। তো কোথায় কোথায় বৃষ্টি হচ্ছে সেটা অবশ্যই জানাবে। তো যাই হোক, আশা করি সব ভালোই আছো, আর আমিও খুব ভালো আছি। তো আজকে আমি তোমাদের সঙ্গে তোমাদের কমেন্টের একটা রিপ্লাই ভিডিও নিয়ে চলে এসেছি। সেটা হচ্ছে তোমরা অনেকে জানতে চাইছো যে চোখের নিচের কালো দাগ তোমরা কিভাবে দূর করবে। তো দেখো, আমার চোখের নিচে কিন্তু কোনো কালো দাগ নেই। আমাকে আমার স্কিন সব থেকে বেশি যেটা দিয়ে কষ্ট দিয়েছে সেটা হচ্ছে কি পিম্পল। হ্যাঁ, পিম্পলের কারণে আমার এত কষ্ট হয়েছে, লাইফে কিছু বলার নাই। কিন্তু কখনো চোখের ডার্ক সার্কেলের সমস্যা আমাকে পড়তে হয়নি, যেটা সত্যি কথা। যতই ঘুম না যায় বা যতই হচ্ছে গিয়ে অনেক বেশি কাজের চাপ থাকুক, টেনশন থাকুক, কখনো আমার চোখের নিচে ডার্ক সার্কেল পড়ে না, ইভেন উপরেও কখনো চোখ কালো হয় নাই। তো ওটার থেকে আমি থ্যাংক গড। কিন্তু হচ্ছে পিম্পলের দিক থেকে আমি অনেক বেশি তো যাই হোক এখন ভালো আছে, সেটা সব থেকে বড় কথা, তাই না? তো আজকে আমি তোমাদের সঙ্গে যে টপিকে ভিডিওটা শেয়ার করছি সেটা হলো তোমাদের চোখের দাগ, চোখের নিচের কালো দাগ, উপরের কালো দাগগুলো তোমরা কিভাবে দূর করবে। অনেকে কিন্তু ঘুম ঠিকঠাক মতো যায়, কোনো টেনশনও করে না, খাওয়ারও ঠিক মতো খায়, কিন্তু তাও ওদের চোখের নিচে একটা ডার্ক সার্কেল পড়েই যায়। তো ওইটা দূর করার জন্য তোমাদের জন্য আজকে আমি একটা সহজ টিপস ভিডিও শেয়ার করতে যাচ্ছি। তোমরা এর জন্য প্রথমে হচ্ছে একটু রিল্যাক্স করে নি, টায়ার্ড হয়ে গেছে প্রচন্ড, হচ্ছে ভাত রান্না করতে হচ্ছে। এখন বাজে হচ্ছে প্রায় 2টা, এখন আমি ভাত বসিয়েছি, মা বাসায় নাই তো ওই কারণে আর কি একটু কষ্ট হচ্ছে। আমি নিজের জন্য হয়তো রান্না করতামও না, কিন্তু দাদার জন্য ভাত পাঠাইতে হবে, সেজন্য রান্না করছি আর কি। তো অনেক বক করছি তোমাদেরকে রেমেডি শেয়ার করতে এসে, তার জন্য সরি, একটু গল্প করতে ভালো লাগে আর কি, সেই জন্য করলাম। তো হচ্ছে কি তোমরা হচ্ছে রেমেডিটা তৈরি করার জন্য প্রথমে একটা বাটির মধ্যে নিয়ে নেবে শশার রস। শশার রস তোমরা 1 থেকে 2 চামচ নেবে, শশা এখন সারা বছরই পাওয়া যায়। 1 থেকে 2 চামচ শশার রস নেবে, এর মধ্যে দিবে হচ্ছে 1 চামচ পরিমাণ আলুর রস। দেওয়ার পরে তোমরা হচ্ছে অল্প একটু পরিমাণে বেসন দিবে আর অল্প একটু চালের গুঁড়ো দিবে, একটা রেমেডি তৈরি করে নেবে খুব ভালো মতো, ধরো একটা ঠিক ঘনত্ব তৈরি করে দিবে আর কি। তো যাতে খুব বেশি ঘনও না হয় আবার খুব বেশি পাতলাও না হয়। অনেকে কি করে একদম পাতলা করে ফেলে, এটা চোখে দেওয়ার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে মানে এখানে দেওয়ার সঙ্গে সঙ্গে এটা বেবে পড়ে যায়, ওইরকমও করার দরকার নেই, জাস্ট একটু ঠিক করে করবে। তো করার পরে তোমরা হচ্ছে এবার চোখের নিচে লাগাবে অ্যান্ড চোখের উপরেও লাগাবে। যদি চোখের উপরে দাগ না থাকে তাহলে শুধু চোখের নিচে লাগালে হবে, একদম পুরো এভাবে করে লাগাবে আর কি। আবার ভিতরে ঢুকে দিও না, সাবধানে লাগাবে, চোখ জিনিস বুঝতে পারছো। যেহেতু আলু রস দিবে ওটা একটু মানে করবে আর কি। তো চোখের ভিতরে যেন কোনোভাবেই না ঢুকে সেদিকে খেয়াল রাখবে। এরপর পুরো এবার লাগানোর পর এটাকে রেখে দিবে, এরপরে একটু রেস্ট নিবে, শুয়ে থাকবে। এরপরে তোমরা হচ্ছে প্রায় 15 থেকে 20 মিনিট পরে এটাকে ওয়াশ করে ফেলবে একটু পানি দিয়ে। প্রথমে একটু পানি দিয়ে একটু হালকা একটু মাসাজ করলে কিন্তু উঠে যাবে। আর এটা যেহেতু আলু রস আছে, তারপরে শশার রস আছে, তারপরে হচ্ছে বেসন আছে, এই জিনিসগুলো হচ্ছে তোমাদের যে দাগটা আছে সেটাকে ডিটেক্ট করে সেটাকে তুলে ফেলতে সাহায্য করবে। তো এগুলা হচ্ছে এভাবে করে দূর হবে আর কি। তো ঠিক আছে, তাহলে তোমরা 15 থেকে 20 মিনিট পরে ধুয়ে ফেলবে। তারপরে তো যে কোনো আই ক্রিম হলে আই ক্রিম লাগাবে, না হলে যে কোনো নর্মাল ময়শ্চারাইজার ক্রিমও লাগিয়ে দিতে পারবে। তো আশা করছি তোমাদেরকে বোঝাতে পেরেছি। ভিডিও ভালো লাগলে অবশ্যই লাইক দিয়ে চ্যানেলটাকে সাবস্ক্রাইব করো। তো টাটা, বাই বাই।